What's with this screen? It's not working?
So for the quasi-judicial, we changed the process a little. These cards are being given out in the back. These are speaker cards. So if you're speaking for or against, if you're in favor, it's blue. If it's pink, it's against. If
That's for the public, right?
yeah, for the thing. So those are being given out in the back. So
You
the
sure you want this? You want the neutral one?
if they want to be neutral, whatever. So they pick whatever they want. He actually got this done. He gets the credit.
You see that, Gertie? You see?
You happy now?
Now you know what petty is, right?
I just want to make sure you got credit.
Okay for the signature.
Hey, bud, how are you?
Talk about it. No problem from.
You see petty for the signature. You saw that, right? You should never thought of all your views get the signatories paid.
Good evening, everyone. It is now 3 minutes past 7 p.m., November 27th, 2018. This is the second to last meeting of the 2018 year. Well, second to last. We'll begin with Madam Clerk to call the meeting to order.
Mayor Joseph,
Here.
Councilman Galvin,
Here.
Councilman Bieneme, Vice Mayor Keys,
Here.
Councilman Desorme. Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you very much. We'll proceed with Pledge of Allegiance conducted by Officer Benjamin Dolly. Is it Dolly? Yeah, Dolly.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Should we please remain standing while we have Rabbi Lipschitz to please lead us in invocation?
Hello, Mayor, Commissioners. Just briefly, I want to share with you that this week we'll be reading the story of Joseph being sold by his brothers. It's a focus on forgiveness. When Joseph finally does meet his brothers and they need him as the viceroy of Egypt, he focuses on saying that everything that happens to me happens from God. And I'm not going to focus on the servers, but on the master chef. So too, this week we begin Hanukkah, which is the festival of lights, which teaches us we don't get down on our knees and fight with darkness. We just light another candle. And with that, I pray for this meeting and all the governance of North Miami. May we truly find in our heart focus on the master chef, forgiveness for the servers that bring us uncomfortable situations, and may we dedicate our lives to just light another candle in this city, in this amazing city that we have. We don't need to fight darkness, we just need to focus on light. And may that be the guiding force to all the meetings that happen here and tonight, and God bless North Miami.
Thank you very much, Rabbi. This time we'll ask the manager if there is any addition, deletions, amendments to the agenda, so we may proceed.
Just one minor item of notice. On the agenda, on the summary agenda, there was a small correction. In the section after 10B under legislative matters, you will see that it says ordinances second reading, although the items there are only first reading. In the next section, you will see there are in that section also under B two little I, first reading ordinances, there are none. That should have been, the items should have been switched so that the first reading items are listed under there and the second reading items, which are currently under quasi-judicial, should be under second reading. And finally, the only quasi-judicial item is tab I. So we just want to put that on the record to make that.
All right. Fair enough.
But there are no changes or additions or omissions.
Okay, so agenda should be considered set at this time, Mr. Attorney, or do we have any other?
One more item, Mayor. For tab I, quasi-judicial, as we discussed, anyone who wishes to speak on those items, please get a speaker card. They're in the back. So we're no longer doing what we normally do, which is have people rise to be sworn in. The cards indicate that they've been sworn in, and only individuals who've signed the cards will be allowed to speak for the quasi-judicial.
Well, I know that you just mentioned it. The one thing that came to my thought is that what cut of time will they have to fill this card out before the start of the meeting?
That's why we're announcing it now. These cards should be filled out before the quasi-judicial item starts.
And we
Or,
did,
before the
Yes,
quasi-judicial
once
item,
it
not
starts-
before the meeting starts.
No. Once the item starts, we're collecting cards, and only those cards that we collect will be able to speak.
to put on the record also, Mr. Mayor, we asked CP&D staff to be here a few minutes before the meeting, so they've kind of polled the audience to make
Yeah.
sure individuals are there, so.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Fair enough. This time we'll have one special presentation by our Councilman Scott Galvin.
Oh, okay.
The reason for the little confusion there is because this actually literally came together today on some information that was sent to me overnight. So this is a little bit out of the ordinary because we normally have somebody who we call who receives this type of a proclamation, and we honor them. But in this case, we're honoring somebody who has passed. So there's nobody to come forward tonight, and we'll just present this to the organizations later. Today, 40 years ago today, Supervisor Harvey Milk in the city of San Francisco, one of the first LGBTQ elected officials in the United States of America, was assassinated at City Hall, as was his mayor. And so with 40 years passing, a lot of the LGBTQ elected officials are taking time today to honor this date. Obviously, there are not many across the nation. There are only 600 out of some 60-something thousand. It's less than 0.1% of all elected officials across America are LGBTQ. But the fact that there are this many, 600 plus, 40 years later, is worth noting. So here's a proclamation we're reading in honor of the late supervisor from San Francisco, Harvey Milk. And I put on my reading glasses. Whereas the people of the city of North Miami stand with the LGBTQ community in honoring the life and legacy of San Francisco Supervisor Harvey Bernard Milk on the 40th anniversary of his untimely death. And whereas Harvey Milk approached public service the same way he approached his life, authentically and selflessly, and his election in 1977 as one of the first openly LGBTQ people elected to office in the United States marked an important moment in that political representation, inspiring countless others to follow in his footsteps. And whereas representation is power and our country is at its best when decision-making bodies, city councils, state legislators, the judiciary, and Congress represent the full spectrum of America's diversity, a goal that Harvey Milk strived for every day of his life. Therefore, be it resolved that this body acknowledges that 40 years after his death, Harvey Milk's tireless efforts to improve people's lives through public service not only makes him a trailblazer, but the standard in which all public servants should aspire. In observance thereof, we call upon the city of North Miami, that all of us, the mayor and our city council, hereby proclaim Tuesday, November 27th, 2018 as Harvey Milk Day in the city of North Miami. Thank you.
Okay. So we'll have Ms. Timothy come forth for city events announcement.
Good evening, Mayor, Council staff, North Miami neighbors, and guests. My name is Cassandra Timothy. I am the Public Information Officer for the City of North Miami, and it is my pleasure to share some of our city's upcoming events and program. Miami-Dade Fire Rescue's free smoke alarm installation program can help keep you safe in your home. 10-year lithium batteries operated alarms will be provided and installed at no cost to qualified Miami-Dade County homeowners. Residents may register in person every Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday until December 6th from 9 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. at the North Miami Police Substation and District 4 Satellite Office, located on 13753 Northwest 7th Avenue. The North Miami Community Redevelopment Agency will celebrate the grand reopening of the Mocha Plaza during a ribbon-cutting ceremony on Wednesday, November 28th at 6 p.m. The Mocha Plaza renovation included installation of new brick pavers, lighting, landscaping, as well as electrical upgrades throughout the plaza. Immediately following the ribbon-cutting ceremony, Santa Claus himself will make his way to the newly renovated Mocha Plaza at Light Up North Miami, scheduled for 6:30 p.m. Celebrate the start of the holiday season at our annual tree lighting ceremony. Enjoy live holiday music and entertainment, festive refreshments, and a fireworks display. Application for the 2019 Leaders in Training program are now available. Application must be submitted by 5 p.m. on Friday, December 28th. The LIT program is for teens interested in building a professional resume. Contact or visit the Community Planning and Development Department for more details. Thursday, November 29th, from 5:30 to 7 p.m., the Police Athletic League of North Miami invites you to a ribbon-cutting ceremony at their new facility located at 12334 West Dixie Highway. POW programs and services will also be showcased. Ashley Pizzotti will take stage as this month's Jazz at Mocha featured artist on Friday, November 30th. These free outdoor concerts, rain or shine, are held on the last Friday of every month at 8 p.m. in the Mocha Plaza. Need a gift idea for the holidays? Then the annual Friends of the Library book sale is a great place to start. It runs from Friday, November 30th through Sunday, December 2nd at the North Miami Public Library. Buy gently used bestsellers, nonfiction, adult and children's book, media, games, and more. North Miami Mayor Dr. Smith Joseph will host the next quarterly business luncheon entitled Smart Cities, Smart Businesses, Upgrading Companies Through Urban Innovation on Tuesday, December 4th from 12 to 2 p.m. at the FIU Coven Center. Registration is available via Eventbrite. The City of North Miami cordially invites you to the 2018 Menorah Lighting Ceremony hosted by Vice Mayor Carol Keys and the Chabad Lubavitch of North Miami on Tuesday, December 4th at 6:30 p.m. in the Mocha Plaza. Join Councilman Alex DeSome for a book signing and Arthur meet and greet with Lisa DePriest, author of Poor Teddy, at the North Miami Library on Friday, December 7th, beginning at 10 a.m. 150 students from area local schools will receive a signed copy of Poor Teddy. Registration for the 2018 Winter Break Camp is now open. Sign up today at the North Miami Parks and Recreation Department. Join the dedicated and talented members of the Sew and Sue's and Crochet Group at the Griffin Community Center on Tuesday, December 12th, beginning at 10:30 a.m. for a showcase of their quilts made with love. North Miami Councilman Philippe Bienemi will host a holiday concert in the park and toy distribution by Santa at Griffin Park on Thursday, December 13th at 6 p.m. Enjoy musical entertainment, live performances, and more. The first meeting of Mayor Smith Joseph Junior Council meeting will take place on Thursday, December 13th, beginning at 5:30 p.m. right here in North Miami City Hall. Haitian Copa Band Class will headline the 2008 Holiday Mixer hosted by Councilman Philippe Bienemi, the Association of Haitian Educators of Dade, and the Haitian American Chamber of Commerce of Florida on Thursday, December 20th from 6 to 10 p.m. at the Mocha Paradise Courtyard. This event is sponsored by the Law Office of Andre D. Pierre. North Miami residents are also invited to a farm share food distribution on Thursday, December 27th from 3 to 5 p.m. at the House of Living God, located at 13700 Northeast 10th Avenue. This event is brought to you by Councilman Philippe Bien-Aimé in partnership with the Community Health and Empowerment Network. Stay up to date with the latest happening in our city by visiting www.northmiamifl.gov/connect to connect with NOMI. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Timothy. The next, do we have any hurricane preparedness update? Commander? Season's over?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Commander Brinson, Emergency Management. No hurricanes at this time, and I'm happy to announce this Friday, November 30th, marks the end of the 2018 hurricane season. So we'll just get ready, start preparing and ramping up for the next June 1st.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We need a motion for consent agenda,
So moved.
Second.
A and B.
I have a motion made by Vice Mayor Keys to approve the consent agenda. That motion was seconded by Councilman Galvin. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item passes 4-0. Tab B. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Tab C. Proposed resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, adopting and appropriating funds in the amount of $229,000 to be funded in the amount of $125,000 from the Law Enforcement Trust Fund, $31,500 from Federal Equitable Sharing Fund, Justice, and $72,500 from Federal Equitable Sharing Fund, Treasury, and providing for the appropriation and expenditure of those items as set forth in Exhibit A, providing for an effective date and for all other purposes. Tab C.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is our yearly request for the adoption. I'm sorry, George Manresa, Police Administrator. This is our yearly request for the adoption and appropriation of federal forfeiture funds. You have the amounts there. This will be for fiscal year 18 and 19. Also, as part of our council report, we did, for your perusal, attach the budget, which the first column contains those categories that we would like to fund. Also, the middle column, an explanation of what each of those items and services that we fund from each of the categories, a little explanation of that. And then the final column, a breakdown of the dollar amount by the 3 different forfeiture accounts.
Do we have any input from the manager or for anybody else from staff? No? No. Okay, at this time we'll open the item to the public for anyone who wishes to be heard on the item. Item C. Public hearing is now open on the item. Public hearing is closed. Because I see no one, hear no one.
Move approval.
Second.
I have a motion made by Councilman Galvin to approve tab C. That motion was seconded by Vice Mayor Keys. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item passes 4-0. Tab D. Proposed resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, opposing and the proposed federal public charge rules changes, providing for transmittal, providing for an effective date, and for all other purposes. Tab D.
Okay. Tab D, this is a resolution that we were asked to prepare by Councilman Galvin and Councilman Desime. Essentially, the federal government is changing the rules regarding aliens and the receipt of benefits. To make a long story short, if a immigrant or an alien resident alien seeks to get any sort of public assistance, it jeopardizes their ability to become a citizen. I can go into a little bit deeper, but that's probably the easiest way to describe it. It just makes it harder for folks who come in who are seeking things like food stamps or other benefits from the government. If you seek those benefits, they can basically deny you citizenship.
So this resolution
This opposes that.
disopposes
Yes.
that.
Not much we can do about it, Mr. Mayor, but at least the city would stand on record.
How soon will it get to Trump's desk?
He's the one that's proposed it, so it's
I mean,
started at his
our
desk.
resolution.
Yeah, right, well,
Well, as soon as it's signed off, we'll transmit
Okay.
it per the
Is-
resolution.
We'll open the item to the public at this time for public hearing. Anyone who wishes to be heard, please come forth to the mic. See one, hear none. Public hearing is therefore closed.
move approval, Mr. Mayor.
I just hope that's what public hearing is for. Yeah.
I'll withdraw my motion so that we can reopen public hearing.
I ask a lot of questions, but it's just because I want to learn. Can you just explain that to me again, just one last time? What you guys just said. What is? Because sometimes, like when you read the ballot.
Name and address for the record.
Oh, I'm Ariel Shapiro. Oh, excuse
Yes.
Ariel Shapiro, 990 Northeast 120th Street, Biscayne Park, Miami, Florida.
Okay. Thank you.
33161.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just new here. This is my first meeting.
Mhm.
So I just didn't understand the last one. Like, do you say yes for something or no for something? It gets confusing. So one more time.
So
Thank you.
This is a resolution opposing the Trump administration's new policy that would make it more difficult for immigrants to get a path to citizenship. Essentially, if you seek any sort of public assistance, the government can then deny you your request for citizenship.
Public hearing is closed.
I thought that just continued.
Ah, okay.
William Previtel, 11950 North Bay Shore Drive. I'd like to support and commend our council for bringing this forth. Thank you, Scott. I think we live in a very, very dangerous time. I think we're probably as dangerous as it's been in more than 120 years or so, going back to the Civil War. And I think if there isn't some ground support for measures like this, I think we keep falling. We keep, in our ignorance, in our neglect, we keep getting closer to the realm of fascism. And I don't say that lightly. And there are way, way too many parallels to how we're aligning with fascism. And I appreciate this gesture and everything that can be done, and to please keep our community on their toes about what has been going on, because before you know it, we get into a position where there's no turning back until things get really, really terminal. So thank you very much, and appreciate your support of this measure.
Thank you. Okay, public hearing is now closed. There was a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion made by Councilman Galvin to approve tab D. That motion was seconded by Vice Mayor Keys. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item passes 4-0. Tab E. Proposed ordinance, first reading of the Mayor and City Council of the City of North Miami, Florida, amending Chapter 21 of the City of North Miami Code of Ordinances entitled Code Compliance to update, organize, and clarify the code compliance process, providing for conflicts, severability, codification, and for an effective date. That's tab E.
Through the mayor, mayor and council, this item is an item that I think, as you know, kind of started through our Clean City initiative several months ago. We started to look at all of our enforcement tools and policies and procedures, and this is the first of a few code amendments that will be coming forth. This one, we have Alex Venezuela here, our outside counsel, who will be here to walk us through the changes. We work with Alex, myself, and our code staff to kind of come up, go through the changes, and we'll just have him put those items on the record.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. The list of changes is in the agenda packet at the end. However, broadly speaking, there are 4 major changes that are intended in this revision of Chapter 21. Initially, it was revised to update the code to either conform to state law or to expand what's in there as allowed by state law. One example is the provision on the service of notices. The other major change was to revise the civil violation ticket procedure, renaming it citations and expanding it so that it can be used in any case of a code violation, not just uncorrectable cases, which is the current code provision. And also, the chapter
Yes.
deletes the county court citations because that procedure was inefficient and never used. And finally, the fines, although the ordinance already allows for the maximum fines permitted by state law, the schedule of civil penalties was never revised to account for that, so this revision would indeed propose doubling those fines in conformity with what's permitted under state law. So if you have any questions, please let me know and I'll try to answer.
Mr. Mayor,
Thank you. Let's open it to the public. Did we open the public hearing yet? Okay.
but Mr. Mayor, can I say something before we continue? And how many changes did you make in that? How many?
How many changes? They're
Yes.
listed, I haven't counted them, but these, the list has 15 listed changes, but if you look at the text, there are some revisions that may not have made it to the list because they're not substantively important enough to list out separately.
So you have the list that I passed, the chart that I passed out. In addition, you have all of the changes that are in the fee schedule, so every single item in the code fee schedule was changed.
Can you tell me how much it was and how much it is now?
Individual?
Yes. Each of them.
Yeah, they're in the item. You want me to go one by, just want me
You
to
gotta
read
be
one
one
by
by
one?
one. Are you telling me that by doing so, we are increasing
We are
citation fees?
we are increasing citation fees, yes, sir.
How many citation fees?
The maximum allowed for each of our listed citation fees.
Well,
Right?
if I may, the schedule of citation, the schedule of civil penalties that used to belong to the ticket procedure is now in the, it goes with the citations procedure. The penalties are all listed from page 21 to page 28 of the
But the
ordinance.
resident need to know how much will be the citation fee for each of them.
That's for the ones that are
Can you tell me how much it
specifically
was,
listed.
how much it is now? In your proposed.
Generally-
I can
Yes.
go through each of them. If you want me to read them all into the
Yes,
record, I can.
please.
I'll read them. It is a lot, but he wants me to read them to the
That's,
record.
that's fee increase that the resident need to know. We cannot pass something and you don't let them know that we are increasing fees
Oh, I
on
don't-
violation. You say it's a lot. That's when
don't-
we should have workshop and let
We
them know
did,
this is
we
what's
did,
coming.
we did. The reason why we held it the last time is because we got a request to do workshops. So we've done public meetings and we've gone through.
In
this.
regards to fee
Yes,
increase?
Yes, absolutely, sir.
Where?
Well, this actually, remember, if you recall.
Where
this
and
item-
when?
I'll go back to the record, I'll go back to our meetings, but we went
Okay, can
to-
someone answer that question? You have code compliance. When you have workshop, I don't remember seeing workshop about fee increase on citation.
We
by code
attended,
enforcement.
we attended the homeowners association meetings. This item, if you recall, was brought initially around April, and was because of that concern, we held it, went out to the public and had those meetings, and that's
And they
why
said
we're
they're
coming
okay?
back. We
Based
have
on the
gotten-
feedback you had?
The feedback we have is they're fine. They were appreciative of us going after some of these fee increases. In fact, one of the major ones was this issue of the Airbnbs and our inability to effectively.
Okay, that's one, but
Okay.
can you give me a list of?
Yeah, I'll read them into the record if you would like. So if you go to
The
table
first one.
table inset 4-7, no animal kept, harbored, maintained, or possessed by any person in the city shall be permitted to run at large or to remain in open public or private property. That that penalty previously was $100 and now it's $200.
What it is exactly?
The fee now?
No. What it is exactly?
I just read it into the record.
People would like to understand it. It's a change of law. They need to know exactly what it is. From
We're going to be
100
here all night.
20.
I'll move to continue this item so that you can have an outside conversation with Mr.
Yeah.
Bieneme and bring it back. If not, more town hall meetings are in order. Move to
Yeah.
continue.
But you cannot increase fee on people without telling
Well,
them that we are doing so.
I'll be honest, if they're violating the code, one of the biggest things I hear about the city is the streets are too dirty, things don't look nice, we need to bring things up. By increasing our fines on people, we're fining the people who are violating. We're not fining the people who are keeping their houses nice. I was ready to vote in favor of it this evening, but out of,
But at the same time, Councilman Galvin, you know, the administration need to do its job also. Sometimes you find the medians dirty, and when you ask who's responsible to clean up the medians, nobody knows who.
Yeah, it's
Media-
it's
Those
always
things-
public works.
So I'll move to
But
continue
sometimes you
this
say
item.
public works, they say no, it's parks. Sometimes they say it's public works.
But
it's
Well, I agree.
when
It's
I
hard
keep
to tell
calling,
in-house.
that happen all the time.
I'll move to continue this. If we don't want to continue it, I'm ready to let him read
I
everything
would,
into
I
the
would
item.
second that because this is
I
the
would.
item that I had a couple questions on some of the fines that no longer exist. I believe this is our conversation. On the back page is where they have the fines, and we're talking about pit bulls, we're talking about 1-ton trucks. We've changed that to 1.5. We've allowed pit bulls, so we need to go back and clean this up before we do first reading.
I think people need to know exactly.
Are we going to continue to have more town hall meetings or what? Are we going?
Here's my motion. I move to continue this for an indefinite period until staff has the opportunity to talk to council, answer questions.
Yes,
If
okay.
necessary,
We'll have more
host
town
any
hall
more
meetings.
town hall meetings, and then bring back, I'm not saying do all that in the next 2 weeks or
I got
before we
you.
go on our holiday break. So move to continue indefinitely until staff feels it's time to bring it back.
At which time we won't have to go and read every single one during the
Hopefully
meeting.
by then we can answer
Yeah.
Well,
everybody's questions.
Okay.
These items are published, except for a couple, little bit of cleanup. I think people who are really interested should get online and take a look at it and see if there's anything that they don't like, so they can call us, email us, and say, I don't like that. I think
Make
doing
it
a town hall
available
meeting
online,
is
the
not going
change.
It
to
is
really do it.
the changes. So for
We're
the
not talking
record,
about
Okay,
My motion to continue
there is a
is there,
motion.
Mr.
I'm
Mayor.
within a second. There is a motion
And a second.
and a second.
All right, I have a motion made by Councilman Galvin to continue the item and definitely until staff could provide clarity. That motion was seconded by
And make
Vice-
every effort to meet with Councilman Bien-Aimé to clarify him on the item.
and make every effort to meet with
I
Councilman.
said it on record.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And that motion was seconded by Vice Mayor Keys. All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah.
All opposed?
just
We're
for
gonna-
I just want to clarify one thing for the record, and correct something that was stated. This item has been properly noticed and posted with the full list of all of the changes, as well as we've met with most of the homeowners associations and had these meetings. I don't have the exact dates, so I wanted to put that on the record. That's how we went around and did that. We'll gladly do it. We'll gladly do it again, and we'll make sure we get.
Yeah, but understand, when you go to some homeowners meeting, it's only 2-3 people. It's
I
not
understand.
that many.
But that's what I'm saying. We did that over. That's why we've had several discussions
But I
over
don't see-
several months.
You have channel 77, you don't use it, it's not there.
Item
We're
F.
gonna
I
go
just
on.
have communication.
We are
With
this like
everybody.
We're gonna-
crazy.
F-
Make a
We're
real
gonna go
serious
on,
presentation
F as in
at the
Frank.
next time, but let's not
Roll call.
hash it out tonight because we're continuing it.
We're gonna go on roll call. Council.
You say we already.
That was E. That was E, right?
That was E, isn't it? Elephant.
Now, F is quasi judicial.
No.
No.
No?
I made the correction.
It's not?
This is, F is going to be a second reading
Okay.
item.
Not a quasi, okay.
Proposed ordinance, second reading of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, providing for text amendments to chapter 29 of the city of North Miami Code of Ordinances entitled Land Development Regulation by amending Article 5, Division 14, entitled Parking and Loading, specifically at Section 5-1402, entitled Schedule of Required Parking, to adjust the parking ratio requirement from 0.5 to 1 parking space for elderly housing, providing for repeal, conflict severability, correction of scrivener's errors, codification, and for an effective date. That's tab F.
No, this is parking.
Madam Vice Mayor, you're in charge.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you. For the record, Tanya Wilson Sejour, Director of Community Planning and Development. This is second reading of a text amendment that was brought before you on October 23rd. This is a request for an amendment to the LDR to adjust the parking ratio for the elderly housing from 0.5 to 1 space per dwelling unit. The item passed unanimously at a vote of 5-0. Staff is just requesting approval on second reading at this time. On first reading, there was a request to add a provision that a restrictive covenant be required, and that for the elderly housing, there'll be a stipulation that 100% of those units be for 55 years and older. That's been adjusted in the ordinance. Staff is requesting approval for second reading at this time.
Mr. Mayor, we can open the public hearing?
Oh, public hearing is now open on the item F as in Frank.
Good evening, Council. My name is Robert Houston. I live at 1150 Northeast 123rd Street, and I would like to voice my support for this amendment. I have seen buildings in the city of Miami where they designated a half a parking space because of elderly housing or because of low-income housing, and it tends to have a spillover effect into the residential areas around it. By having a one designated parking space per unit, you avoid having a spillover effect into the neighborhood. Thank you.
Public hearing is still open on the item, but I see none here, none. Public hearing is therefore closed.
Move approval.
Second.
I have a motion made by Councilman Galvin to approve tab F. That motion was seconded by Vice Mayor Key. By Vice Mayor Keys. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? We're gonna go on roll call. Mayor Joseph, how do you vote?
For which one?
For tab F.
It's an ordinance, so you have to do roll call.
Go ahead.
Mayor Joseph, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Galvin, how do you
Yes.
vote? Vice Mayor Keys, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilman Bien-Aimé, how do you vote?
Yes.
Item passes 4-0. Tab G, proposed ordinance, second reading of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, providing for text amendments to chapter 29 of the city of North Miami Code of Ordinances entitled Land Development Regulation by amending Article 2, Decision-Making and Administrative Bodies at Division 7 entitled Development Review Committee, specifically at Section 2-701 entitled Powers and Duties, to remove the requirement that after Development Review Committee approval, the City Council will review projects over 5,000 square feet, providing for repeal, conflict severability, correction of scrivener's errors, codification, and for an effective date. That's tab G.
Thank you. For the record again, Tanya Wilson Sejour with Community Planning and Development. This again is a text amendment to the city's land development regulations. It's also a second reading. The request was sponsored by Mayor Smith Joseph. The original request was for the removal of site plans to be reviewed by City Council that are 5,000 square feet in size. At first reading, City Council instead requested that that threshold be set at 20,000 square feet in size. Staff has no objections to this amendment to the ordinance and is requesting approval for this text amendment on second reading at this time.
Okay, public hearing is open on the item. Item G as in good.
Good evening. Valerie Holt, 1050 Northeast 122nd Street. I'm a little confused, a clarification on that. The council will not hear development that's under 5,000 square feet and only hear development that's over 20,000 square feet? I would just like a clarification. I'm not sure if I understood that correctly.
Well, for final approval, that is.
Anything over 20,000, we're gonna review it.
That will go before the council?
Yes.
Anything under that just goes before the planning commission?
Whatever,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, that's all I wanted was a clarification.
Yes.
I just want, thank you.
Public hearing is now closed.
Everybody breathe a sigh of relief right now. Councilman DeSulme is here.
Public hearing is closed. Well, now we're back on the dais. Do we have a motion?
Move approval.
A quick question.
Remove my motion.
Mr. It's for the city attorney. After we pass the first reading and we change it to 20,000, shouldn't we publicize it, the way it was approved first, or we keep it that way and then we change it after the resolution passed?
The advertisement should have read 20,000 when it was, well, we advertised it the first time. The second, it was advertised the first time.
For 5,000.
For 5,000.
When we pass it at the first reading.
I'm not sure we even advertised it.
20,000.
I don't think we advertised it in the paper for the second.
Should we do that?
Other than the normal advertisement.
I don't think the size
It
is
should,
public.
yeah, it should have said 20,000. It's 20,000 in the body of the ordinance. I believe the title was incorrect. There's a scrivener's error in the title.
That's when it should be changed. It should be 20,000.
You're voting on 20,000 as you changed it from the first
Yeah,
reading.
but the one you publicize, the second reading, say 5,000.
I haven't seen the advertisement.
Says 5.
I'm talking about the legality of that. If we pass the first reading, we change it.
The notice is to give people notice of what we're voting on. Whether it's 5,000 or 20,000, I mean, you get the gist of what the vote
Next
is.
time, when we...
It's a scrivener's error. It should have been changed to 20,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I hope that Mr. Manager you take notes about that.
So
You don't even know what you're talking
the
about.
motion.
We'll make sure it's changed, sir. We'll make sure.
After the first reading,
Yes,
if
sir.
we change
Then we'll
anything,
make sure that
when we do the second reading, we need to change it.
We need a motion.
Move approval.
Second.
I have a motion made by Councilman Galvin to approve tab G. That motion was seconded by Councilman Bien-Aimé.
With a slight correction from 5,000 to 20,000 square feet.
Okay. As stated on record by Mayor Joseph. All in favor?
It's
It's an ordinance.
Councilman, Councilman Bien-Aimé, how do you vote?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Keys, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilman Galvin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mayor Joseph, how do you vote?
Yes, last.
Yay.
Councilman Desulme, how do you vote?
No.
What you mean?
Item passes
You wasn't there last council?
4-1. Tab H, proposed ordinance, second reading of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, providing for text amendments to chapter 29 of the city of North Miami Code of Ordinances entitled Land Development Regulations by amending chapter 7 definitions, providing for repeal, codification, severability, correction of scrivener's errors, and for an effective date.
Before we go forward, I believe Mr. Councilman Desulme would like to reconsider his vote on the last item.
Well, clarification. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I came in, I didn't know which item was being discussed. What was the
G as in God.
yeah, the G. So this is the text amendment regarding if
If a
something
project
more-
if a project is
20
less
This
than
is-
20,000.
This is for the design review committee.
Oh, okay.
That ends with the council. You had previously, you were
Got
concerned
it.
about the size of those projects. You modified 5,000 to 20,000.
Oh, okay.
But they'll still be coming to the council for review.
Okay,
at
that's
the new
fine.
size.
Madam Clerk, you could amend my vote as to, yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
So for the record, tab G passes with a 5-0 vote.
Back to H. She's already read it.
Have you read the title?
Yes.
Okay. For the record again, Tanya Wilson Sejour. This third text amendment is an ordinance requesting for amendment to Article 7 of the city's land development regulations. That's the section of your code that houses the definitions. This item passed on first reading by a vote of 4-0. Staff is requesting approval at this time. As mentioned in the title, it's just an update of that section to remove any errors, any omissions, to include new definitions for things like breweries that we currently don't have in the code, also marijuana dispensaries and centers. It's really just a general update of that section of your code. So staff is requesting approval of Article 7 of the LDRs at this time.
All right, at this time, we'll open the item for the public to have the opportunity to be heard. Item tab H, as in Harry, is open for public hearing. Yes.
Good evening, Alina Medina.
You can go to the next mic.
1270 Northeast, 124th Street.
Mhm.
Can you explain exactly what is this? So everybody understands really what's the issue.
Mrs. Zhu, can you read it again? Can you explain it
I mean, I
again?
can read what's here, but it doesn't really, I'm sure the majority of the people that are here don't really understand what exactly is the issue.
Give her the opportunity to come
details.
back to the mic.
Let's let everybody
and
ask their
give-
questions
yeah.
so that she,
I'm so
maybe,
sorry.
so that she doesn't have to.
Well, I don't know.
So Article 7 of your land development regulations contains the definition. So every single use within your code, for example, I mentioned before your breweries, that should be defined in your code. It's literally like the glossary or the dictionary of your code that explains everything from A to Z, it's labeled. So for this amendment, we're requesting for new uses to be added that are obsolete in your code, that are not mentioned. Things like brewery. If you have someone coming in requesting to build a brewery in your city, if it's not defined in your code, it's ambiguous. Oftentimes, it's a prohibition. So this is to create clarity within your code. If there are things that are described, for instance, a tattoo parlor is described as a problematic use. We know that that doesn't comport with federal law. It's freedom of speech, so you can't have something like that in your code. So that's being stricken. So it's an update of that section of your code to create clarity, to make sure there are no ambiguities within your code. Is that clear?
Mr. Mayor, through you to Ms. Sejour, you mentioned marijuana dispensaries.
Correct. That's one that's added.
Tell us what that means.
So let's read the definition.
But in layman's
actually
terms,
there.
let's put aside the
All right, so I won't read it word for word.
Right.
So the essence is that state law now allows for a marijuana dispensary to be located within your city. North Miami's code is silent. It has no definition for what that is. So if Trulieve or another entity comes in to create a marijuana dispensary, creating that definition now allows them to be able to have the use created within our M1 industrial districts. State law said it has to be treated like a pharmacy. So we're making sure that the code is now consistent with state law. We don't run into any issues where we could be sued because our code is not keeping up with the current trends of what land use law allows.
Well, that was the second. Did you have one more question?
No. I was saying years ago, literally, update our codes to address medical marijuana. It's coming, it's coming, it's coming.
And it came.
I'm glad it's taken about 4 years, but we're here.
We are.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Okay, again. My name again?
Yes.
Okay.
Name and address.
Yes. My name is Ariel Shapiro, and I live at 990 Northeast 120th Street.
And now your date of birth.
January 2nd, 1983. My birthday's coming. You know where my address is. All right, guys. I apologize again. Well, yeah, I apologize. I just wanted to thank you for reading that. And, yeah, I was confused about that article. but I hope we're all voting for a medical marijuana dispensary in the neighborhood. That's it.
Hi, Ileana Alban, 849 Northeast 121st Street. And I had a question if they were changing anything related to assisted living facilities in that Article 7.
Is that answer no? I saw a couple heads shake from staff. Is that answer no, or is that?
It's not
It's
there.
not there.
Public hearing is still open on the item. See none, hear none. Public hearing is therefore closed.
Move approval.
Second.
I have a motion made by Councilman Galvin to approve tab H. That motion was seconded by Vice Mayor Keys.
I have a question, if you'll allow me. Before I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor. Is it specific, Mr. Jura, where these location could go, or are we, by law, have to treat them like the CVS or the Walgreens?
Right. You can't.
From
You
my
can't, right. You can't treat them any
That's
differently.
correct. By state law, you have to treat it as a pharmacy because, of
Oh.
course, it's for folks that have a prescription that have been authorized to receive this type of medicinal treatment. So you have to put them on the same footing as you would.
No,
Marijuana
yeah.
is legal, y'all.
No, I'm a component of that, Councilman. It's just I'm not too big of where they actually go. But is there? My question is, are we allowing them, or within the state charter, which supersede our charter, like near schools? Because there is one that I see popped up in my area. It's not too far from a school, and
You
I'm
already got
concerned
one?
about that. Yeah.
But
It's
the thing
so
is, it's legal for medicinal. Pills are being sold near our schools
It's a
too.
pharmacy.
It's a
But
pharmacy.
Treat it
right.
as a
It's
pharmacy.
so
Okay.
kids
You
are.
can put
You
it
can't sell the medical marijuana to kids any more than you could sell the ibuprofen or OxyContin to
Yeah.
kids. You have to have a prescription from a doctor. So we can't get all puritanical about things now because it's legal.
No, I'm not asking about the illegal.
Just to kind of give some detail to you, Councilman DeSume. The state in their last two sessions, I believe, passed preemptive.
Yes, I know.
Constitutional language or statutory language that prevented any county municipalities from
Regulating
doing
them.
any further
So
what-
regulation.
Okay.
So and stated that they have
Yeah.
to be treated
It's
like
pure-
CVS,
it's pure state law,
Walgreens
yeah.
pharmacy.
Okay. My name's not.
All right.
All right, we're gonna go on a vote. Councilman Desume, how do you vote?
Yeah.
Councilman Galvin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Keys, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilman Bien-Aimé, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mayor Joseph, how do you vote?
Yay.
Item passes 5-0. Tab I, propose. Oh. Do I have to say? Okay. Proposed resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, approving an application for conditional use permit in substantially the attached form, allocating 175 residential units from the primary pool of 2,438 remaining floating residential unit and 59,326 square feet from the pool of 750,000 square feet for non-residential use reserved for use within the neighborhood redevelopment overlay NRO district for a proposed mixed-use development featuring a 7-story, 40 units senior residential apartment building and a 10-story, 135 units senior residential apartment building with retail space, a 3-story, 70-bed adult living facility, ALF, and a 5-level parking garage on the 1.9 acres real property, generally located at 950 Northeast 124th Street, and specifically identified with Miami-Dade County folio number 06-2230-040-0020 in accordance with Article 4, Division 4, Section 4-205B and Section 4-305, and Article 3, Division 4, Section 3-302 through 3-407 of the City of North Miami Code of Ordinances, Chapter 29, entitled Land Development Regulation, providing for an effective date and for all other purposes.
Through the mayor, just to make sure, have we collected all cards for any speakers on this item? Are there any remaining cards? Thank you.
Thank you. For the record, Tanya Wilson Sejour with the Community Planning and Development Department. This is a request for an approval of a resolution, and it's a request for a conditional use permit approval for the allocation of 175 units, over 59,000 square feet, non-residential use from the Neighborhood Redevelopment Overlay District. The property address again is 950 Northeast 124th Street. The property is zoned public use, and it also has a land use designation of community facility. I want to point out that even though the property is zoned public use, this is a privately owned property. The site itself is consisting of 1.95 acres in size. That's over 84,000 square feet in size. And again, it's located within the Neighborhood Redevelopment Overlay District. Because it is located within the NRO, as the council is aware, this project is allowed to have mixed use. So it has a density within the NRO that's allowed for 90 dwelling units per acre. So the request before you for the 175 is activated because the property is located within the NRO district. I'm going to walk the council and the public through just a bird's eye view of the proposal for this conditional use permit. So the applicant is requesting 175 elderly housing units. The project is contemplated to have 5 levels of a parking garage. 230 spaces in total are being proposed. It's also contemplated as a 70-unit adult living facility. That structure itself will be 3 stories in height. There's 9,232 ground floor retail. About 4,000 of that is actually expected to be for restaurant use. And the architect is going to go into more details within the project specifics itself, but it includes a therapy garden. It also has a pool that's contemplated and a covered fitness area. There's also a 35 feet wide landscape park that's being contemplated, and a promenade that's proposed for public use and also public art with underground utilities. The project itself is also proposed for LEED certification. We know with every new construction within the city's LDR requires that those projects be either LEED certified or a comparable program. So we know that this is a sustainable project. Looking at the project benefits themselves, I want to pull out a few things from the staff report in terms of the anticipated benefits. We're anticipating, based on the economic analysis, that 239 short-term construction jobs would be generated from this project. There's also 1.7 million in permit and impact fees anticipated. In terms of the ad valorem tax that's anticipated, it's over 890,000 in annual ad valorem taxes that are anticipated to be generated from this project. There's also a 25,000 square feet public assembly space that would be created as a part of this project. So in terms of the next steps, if approved tonight, this conditional use permit would also have to go before the DRC in the form of a site plan for DRC review. Based on the ordinance that was approved before, that would actually require this site plan to come back before City Council after it receives DRC review. So the council will see the project again at the site plan stage. If approved tonight, the permit is good for 18 months based on your land development regulations. And it's also required to have a restrictive covenant. So all the things that are proposed, from public art to public place of assembly to the age restriction, everything that has been listed within the restrictive covenant will run with the land and the life of the project itself. So staff is going to allow the architect to make a formal presentation or the attorney at this time.
Good evening, Mayor and Council, Mr. Manager, Mr. City Attorney. My name is John Della Gloria. My office is at 1065 Northeast 125th Street. I am sure you all recognize that this has been before you on several occasions, and everything that is going to be said has been said. We have held at the behest of Councilman DeSalme recently, but prior to that, we've held 4 public meetings. I believe this item has been presented to you on a couple of occasions. And I appreciate and thank the city attorney. I'm sure it was the city attorney who put out the little pamphlet up front regarding quasi-judicial procedures. This is a quasi-judicial hearing. And in order to receive approval, we need to have a presentation of substantial and competent evidence. The one thing I want to mention is that we are allowed the right to cross-examination. I'm going to use that, hopefully not at all, if at all, sparingly and as politely as I can, which I will do.
You have to be polite.
Absolutely. And as I say, it'll just be used sparingly. This evening, as Tanya indicated, Mr. Frankel, who has been here before, will be presenting that portion of the project that is part of what is your resolution tonight. Again, I would like you to almost have like laser focus on what is in front of you. The only thing in front of you is pulling down from the pool of residential uses and retail uses what is not in front of you tonight, but which will be part of future procedures, will be issues like landscaping, art in public places, whatever the other considerations are. But tonight, it is just that you're going to be reviewing. One question I have of the city attorney is regarding the quasi-judicial cross-examination rights. I believe we're entitled to cross-examine, if necessary, after that speaker has spoken, not at the end, because nothing guarantees that the speaker is going to stick around after speaking. And if your decision is that the cross-examination occurs at the end, then I'm going to ask for all those comments to be stricken from the record, because I will not have the right to cross-examine. So that's my issue. I'll wait if you want to think about that for a minute, Jeff.
It's not really my decision. I'd have to pull up the code section, but the code section talks about quasi-judicial procedures, and it
Yes.
lists how the procedures goes.
Yes.
And it talks about individuals making their case, and
Right.
then afterwards. So it's not my call. It's what it's what our code says.
And that's why I'm saying that I'm going to specifically ask for those comments to be stricken if the people are not available for cross-examination.
Anyone who speaks should remain so that they can be cross-examined at
Thank
the
you.
appropriate time.
Before Mr. Frankel gives his presentation, I just wanted to advise that the developers, Mr. Mo Yagubi and Mr. Marcelo Tenenbaum, are here. And as I pointed out once before, these developers have a real commitment to the community. They have developed in the Highland, in North Miami Beach, and they are also the first entity that has purchased property in what is going to be, hopefully, a very successful Chinatown district. So these are not developers who are here. They're going to build a building, they're going to make money, and they're going to wish you the best and hope that things don't change. Unless the council has any questions for me. And one thing, Jeff, I will be asking questions of Ms. Wilson Sejour. I don't know if you want me to do that.
We
at the end
can't. We
also.
cannot have two meetings at the same time, please. So we let the gentleman
Okay.
speak.
I'll
so we
speak.
can-
I'll
Yeah, I mean,
address that at the end.
Pulled up the code section. So
Mhm.
under quasi-judicial procedures, just so everyone understands, it lists the order of presentation. Order of presentation is disclosure of ex parte communications, which we missed, and
Right.
personal investigations pursuant to subsection C below. Presentation by city staff, presentation by the applicant, then public comment, then examination by city staff, which we can do,
Mhm.
cross-examination by the applicant, cross-examination by decision-making body, rebuttal by the applicant, closing of public hearing, discussion among members of the decision-making body, motion by decision-making body with explanation of position, and action by decision-making body. And so it's delineated in our code, so it's not my decision, it's just what the code says.
And that's fine. And again, I appreciate your asking those who speak to remain. Thank you.
Now let's have the presentation, please. So who's going to present? All right, let's do it.
I'm going to start. Thank you. Happy holiday, everyone. And thank you for hearing us again. Tanya gave a pretty good summary of the project. You've all been familiar with it. You all have your packages. I imagine you had a chance to look them over and see the drawings. So I will just review a few of them for you. And if you have any questions about any details, would be happy to answer them. The first thing we want to tell you is that this project is a result of a collaborative design process, and we're grateful for that because it's been 2.5 years in the making. Most of you were all here, and we were here back 2.5, almost January of 2015 is when we started it, I believe. We had many meetings with the city planners, and they were really very rewarding meetings in the sense that it helped the project to evolve. And over that 2.5-year period, as I said, we met with the past planners and the present planners, currently with Debbie Love and Tanya Wilson Sejour, and their input was immeasurable. It was very astute, very insightful planning concepts, and even design concepts all helped shape the project. And that all was involved with the process of the NRO, which took place about 1.5 years ago, the approval of that, the zoning modifications, which took place, the LDR hearings, which took place, the Planning Commission meeting, which we had, and then the LDRs resulted in some of the current plans that were actually developed early part of 2018. And after May, we understood that the LDRs changed again with some new parking requirements. So the end result, it was a very collaborative process. In addition to the planning process with the planners and staff, we had 4 important meetings with the neighbors. The first one took place at the manager's office about 2 years ago. We then had 2 in 2017 at the Gwen Margolis Center, where we invited the neighbors, and they came and gave their input and suggestions and recommendations, many of which were very astute and very good, and many of which we responded to. We then had a 4th meeting at the result of the last council meeting. Some council members suggested that we meet with the neighbors again, so we held it at the Griffin Center on November 8th, just 2 weeks ago, or 3 weeks ago. And that was a very good meeting. So all of these sessions, as I said, resulted in suggestions, recommendations, good design changes that were better for the project, and it improved our submissions for the CUP submission and the approval that you're looking at today. And the results of those meetings will also be a benefit when we go into the DRC process, the Design Review Committee, and then back to the Planning Commission, as John mentioned, and then back to the council for the final approval. To sum the latest revisions since we submitted in May, we had 3 important changes, the results of these meetings. The first one was that it was expressed at your council meeting a few meetings ago that the neighbors felt the 6-story buildings, but we had 2 6-story buildings on 123rd Street, which were ALF facilities, and that they were too massive, out of scale with the neighborhood on south of 123rd Street. We now have 2 3-story buildings along there. The renderings are in your packet. There's one up on the board there as well, which, Gladys, it's on the floor. Perhaps we could put that up. But the whole emphasis of those 3D images are that it's now a scale that's prevalent in the neighborhood. Across the street, on the south side of 123rd Street, you have R5 and R2 zoning. R5 multifamily allows up to 75-foot height, and the R2 allows up to 35-foot height. We've chose to make these buildings on 123rd Street only 32 feet in height, and to put them behind a deep urban promenade plaza that meanders along, as you see in that rendering, on 123rd Street, that's 55 feet wide from the buildings to the curb. So we're also including the right-of-way there, and we're improving the right-of-way, so that the end result of this project is that all 3 right-of-ways are greatly enhanced, and they become pedestrian promenades on 123rd, pedestrian and urban plazas on 10th Avenue, and the same on 124th Street. Okay, the stepping of the buildings gradually increase in height from 123rd along 10th Avenue. They go up to a 7-story building, which is 6 stories of apartments, and then recreational amenities above the apartments. And then on 124th Street, it reaches the full urban scale, the highest density of a maximum of 10 stories. The NRO, which encompasses this site, allows 55 feet on the south half of the property and 110 feet on the north. So we're holding it down to 32 feet on the south and about 95 feet on the north. So that's a major change. The second important change was that one of the neighbors at the last meeting suggested we had 2 driveways on 10th Avenue that kind of entered the ground floor of the parking garage. As Tanya mentioned, there's a 5-story parking garage with 230 spaces in it. The required LDRs and zoning require 207, so we have an extra 23 spaces. But that garage is 5 stories. The building in front of it on 10th Avenue is 7 stories, and then the ultimate building on 124th is 10 stories. But the neighbor suggested we don't have traffic coming in on 10th Avenue, so we made that significant change, and all our cars, all the vehicles entering that garage come in on 124th Street. The major street that feeds them, of course, is 125th, and it comes down on the 3 avenues, 8th, 9th, and 10th, to 124th. So all our access to the parking is on 124th. We only have one small exit now on 10th Avenue, and that's primarily for the ALF drop-off and the ALF facility to exit on 10th Avenue. But we're maintaining that should be a northbound exit, so you can only make a left turn on 10th Avenue and head north back to 125th Street. So the end result is no traffic of this building, of this mixed-use development, should enter 123rd Street. Okay, so that was a very important change, which we thought it was a great suggestion by the neighbor. The last item was that the building complies in every regard with the zoning ordinance, the LDRs, and the bonus provisions that allow this density. We've committed to that. I think in the staff report that you probably read, it indicates that we comply in every regard with the zoning and the LDRs that provide the density for 90 units an acre, which results in 175 apartments. That's pretty much what sums up the changes. I'd like to walk you through and show you the site plan and a few important plans and renderings, and you can ask me any questions about the project.
What's going on, Mr. Manager? Are we?
Test.
Get who? We have a microphone here.
Test.
Yeah. Let's not delay the process any longer, guys. This is a meeting. This is not a. We gotta get going. We're wasting too much time here.
All right, is this,
Okay.
is this on? You hear me?
Yep.
Okay, we separated.
I'm
the
not
boards
here
just
for
so
all
the
of that
neighbors and
tonight.
has good, clear visibility to the podium. The first board here on the right is your site plan, and it's very clear that we have 3 streets surrounding the site: the north 124th, on the east 10th Avenue, and the bottom south 123rd. And we've dedicated those areas as pedestrian open space. If you total it all up, it's about 26,000 square feet of space, and it's all going to be enhanced mainly by the existing trees that I'll show you, by the way. This is a sample of the trees on 123rd Street. We're saving all of them. They're oak trees, very large. Some of them are 40 foot in height or even greater, and they create a fantastic canopy along 123rd. And this is the same view on 10th Avenue. I'm sorry. This is also looking down 123rd Street westbound. So you see it's a huge canopy of oak trees and 1 or 2 black olive trees. There's a few more like that we have on 10th Avenue. See if we can find that, 10th Avenue. Okay, but the plan elements are essentially a 3-story building along 123rd Street, which is the ALF facility. Another thing that the neighbors requested was to move the lobby, which we had central to the block, to the corner. That was the 3rd item. So we literally moved the lobby of the ALF right to the corner of 10th Avenue and 123rd Street, and allowing just a big open lounge in the middle of the building on every floor that looks out to the landscape of 123rd and to the landscape behind the building.
Mr. Man, what are we voting on tonight? Because I'm losing. I'm going to be voting and I'm losing sight of everything. I'm lost and I don't know where am I.
So
maybe it's because I'm hungry. I don't know. Because we've had this presentation before.
Yes,
you have, sir. So
Yeah.
you're simply voting on the allocation of units in the NRO.
Okay. So we don't need all of this presentation that we're getting here.
Procedural.
We are voting on allocating units, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so we're not going to be voting on the
Okay.
design. So we don't need the
If
design.
you have any questions about
Yeah.
where the density is, it's
Yes.
on these plans, and you have it in your packet. The only other items
Yeah.
were the images showing the building on all 3 sides to the public.
Mhm. All right, so we go to public now?
Are you done with the presentation?
Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yes, Mayor, we open to public comment. Just so the record is clear, anyone who's going to speak should have signed one of these speaker cards.
One of these cards, so far I have about 21 of them.
One of the speaker cards. This one's not signed. It should be signed. We're not swearing anyone in. This attests that you have been sworn in, so anyone speaking is still under oath.
Ask the person to sign it. Hmm? Yeah, if you want to do it before I open the public hearing.
Yes.
Okay, Mr.
And how you proceed is up to you, Mayor. They can either come up as you normally would, and you just check them on the card, or you can call their names, whichever.
Yeah,
way
I'll
you
call
want to
their
proceed.
names and then they'll come to the mic. Yeah. But
Mr.
go
Mayor,
ahead.
if you allow me to make a quick statement, because I know either the attorney or someone had mentioned my name. I had asked for this item to be deferred upon. I understand all of the, I guess, procedures and what's been going on behind closed door. Out of this disclosure, I have not met with nobody, absolutely no one, since a couple months ago. In fact, the only communication that I had with the representative of the client, which is Mr. De La Gloria, she had sent me some emails, but it was in reference to other stuff, was through the city manager. So just so we know we don't waste time, I am supportive of development. However, what I had asked before, and I don't want to waste people's time tonight, in order for me to be voting yes for this project. I understand the legality of it. I understand what staff has done. But what I said, and I'm going to say it again, in order for me to be a yes, I need to have the equal number of residents. And I understand that the client did meet with the community, which is great. I totally applaud that. That's coming. If I have, out of the 20 people you have, Mr. Mayor, all of them are against it, I'm also going to be against it. So that's all, and that's where I am, because I don't want to waste time. So we need to have community. That was my biggest thing. So that if that's where I am tonight. So
So with that, we have to open public.
Mr. Attorney, are you going to address that comment?
With that, I have to open public hearing. Let's hear what the public have to say, because that's...
Mr. Mayor, I
that's-
apologize
Yeah.
for this. I need to advise you now, and I'm sure your city attorney will give you the same advice. If that's the position of this council, that you're going
This
to...
council has not spoken.
Mr.
The
Somay-
no, but I cannot allow you to continue with that line of talking, because
Fine,
the
I'll do it
council
later.
has not
I-
voted.
I will do it later.
Okay, thank you. Mr. William Prevotel, you have your 2 minutes.
Thank you. William Prevotel, 11950 North Bay Shore Drive. I'm stepping up here first because what I'm going to say, I'm hoping will maybe curtail some of the, or maybe sway some opinions and some of the, particularly some of the negative feedback. I'd like to thank the council for voting positive on this during the first round, during the first hearing. I think it's insightful, and I think it's very productive for our community. I'd like to thank the development team for what I think are really good efforts. I think they've really gone through the ringer to meet every demand of our community and to hopefully bring about a state-of-the-art community for our city. I'd like to thank in advance members of our city, our citizens. I'd like to thank you for having an open mind on this. I know there are some people that feel this is just, oh, it's a whole clump of seniors coming in to our city, and it'll have, that's kind of a static thought. I see this a little bit more as four-dimensional or five-dimensional. I see it as a nice contribution to the landscape of our community. I see it as construction industry jobs to start off with. I see it as more than citizens working there. I see the senior citizens. I see it as a lot of people that are not seniors who work there. People who are landscapers, people with other services, the restaurants and other services in the area, not necessarily seniors. And this will vitalize that area. I think it'll be very good for our community to have this. I hope that, matter of fact, when looking at the numbers in a city of more than 60,000, I really wonder if this facility would be large enough. So maybe if this is successful, and it should be, there might be others spread out in our community, and makes it that much easier for our community to be able to attend a facility like this. Wouldn't it be nice if you have loved ones, and rather than going communities away, many miles away, possibly half hours, hours away, that we have something nearby that is a high-quality facility that you would be proud to have your people in.
Thank you very much.
So thank you.
And sorry if I mispronounce your name a little bit. I don't, Robert Husted? Is it Husted? Husted. Okay, and next is Ariel Shapiro after Mr. Husted. Yeah, go ahead.
Robert Husted, 1150 Northeast 123rd Street. I've been involved in this project since we moved the NRO line, and I can honestly say when this project was first presented in the beginning, it was 175 apartment units. They're presenting it today with 175 apartment units. I've also looked at different buildings around the city of similar height and density and saw what problems there were. I tried to wrap my head around this building being where it is. I visualized 7 apartments on either side of a hallway of a 10-story building. And I look at the 4 horizons, and there's a 9-story building right on 125th Street. So for me, even though it seems large, it really isn't that large. And I'm 55 plus, so if I'm one of those old seniors running around downtown North Miami, a revitalized downtown North Miami, because of that density and future density, which is coming whether we want it or not, we might even be able to get a railway station on 125th Street. So if there's going to be growth, I would rather have it along the corridors with these buffer zones between the low density and the high density with a little bit of vision and with a lot of citizen input, because developers need to be kept in check. And I certainly hope that the city will also mitigate parking immediately if it becomes a problem. I think this is a good project for the city, and I wouldn't say that unless I really believed it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shapiro.
Yes, hi. My name is Ariel Shapiro, and I live in Biscayne Park, 990 Northeast 120th Street. And, you know, I apologize to everyone if I was making a mockery of myself earlier, but to shorten this up, I'm here just to keep Biscayne Park as beautiful as it is, as it always has been, and just hopefully make it better. The big constructions, I've seen it. I've been born and raised in Miami, and I know what it does. So I'm just here with the people who want to just keep our city, our town, our beautiful place the same as it is. And also, lastly, right by the village elderly home, we need a four-way stop there because some people really drive very fast. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Next is Miss Rasnawati Leo Wenas. I'm sorry if I butchered the names. Mr. Leo Wenas, is it? Rasnawati? No? Mm. Okay, and after her will be Miss Abiel Mir. Is it Miv or Mir? Mir, M-I-R?
I'm
Okay, you can.
Rasnawati Leovenas.
Mm.
I live in 955 Northeast 120th Street, Biscayne Park. So my English is not too good, so, but I'm a guest. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. So Abiel, you're going to. Okay. Okay. Gabriel.
We don't know what direction because you're not speaking, so.
Gabriel Guerini. Yeah. And after him will be Miss Julia Guerini.
My name is Gabriele Guerrini. I live in 1035 Northeast 122nd Street here, just one block away of the proposed project. I say please vote no for the conditional use permit and bonus units to reduce the density impact to comply to the NRO designation. See, this is a page you can find easily in internet, nordmiami.gov. They say, our focus, our future. Diversify and strengthen the retail mix. I don't see any of this. Capitalize the city distinguishes asset and educational cultural community. Strength to exist niche retail. I don't see any retail in this project. Create transit-oriented design project. Encourage parks, plazas, pedestrian-friendly, measure corridors. Nothing. Promote a livable and complete street. Bike lines, parking, pedestrian-friendly, shade trees. I say that this big project, over 200 units with 10-story towers, is probably which just the opposite of our focus, our future. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. That's Ms. Julia Guerini, right?
Yes, correct. Good evening, neighbors, council members, vice mayor, and the mayor. My name is Julia Guerini, and I live at 1035 Northeast 122nd Street. Please vote no to the conditional use permit and to refocus this project to its intended use. This lot originally was public use only, and it was restricted to plazas, parks, community centers, etc. So what has changed? Well, the whole NRO thing that everyone seems to be aware of now, but it stands for Neighborhood Redevelopment Overlay, a term that originated from NOMI Master Development Plan, which is at the North Miami, which basically signifies the North Miami Great Vision to revitalize our community, to make it more pedestrian friendly and beautify it. The term NRO was created to allow certain areas to be developed that could not be before it was but it was supposed to be for the greater good of the community. The NRO was created to strengthen the retail mix, capitalize on educational community, cultural community, create design projects, encourage parks, plazas, bike lanes, pedestrian-friendly areas, and continue the business assistance program to improve commercial facades. This was taken word for word out of the City of North Miami Downtown Development Plan. Do you think this project is in line of this vision? I don't think so. In 2015, the developers petitioned to have the public use only lot included in the NRO. They presented a project which was in line of the vision of North Miami. It had art galleries, art studios, retail, community, and nice walkways. Why would the city now allow them to completely change the project that goes against the city's vision and violates the NRO? Instead of improving community environment by allowing the community to come together, the developers are proposing tall buildings that act like walls to separate the downtown area, which was clearly not the intention of including it into the NRO. It is clear that this development is proposed to maximize the profit rather than to redolate.
Thank you.
Okay. So just please vote no.
All right. Miss Alina Medina, followed by Mr. Steve, I think it's Santa Cruz, is it? Yes. Yeah. After Miss Medina.
Alina Medina, 1270 Northeast 124th Street. I live around this area and I frequently walk in this area, which is a very nice feel, nice atmosphere. And I know that this tall building, this is going to change completely. So I'm totally against adding these extra bonus units. I mean, there's enough money will be made already with what they have. There was going to be, there was another council meeting where there was a discussion of them, the developers also taking care of a rotunda to make the traffic better. And I think that wasn't not followed up for them to do it. So I think the developers have enough already. They'll make enough money out of this building. There's no need to add extra bonus units to this. And the people who live in this area are totally against that. So please consider those who live there. The developers do not live in that area. Thank you.
Mr. Santa Cruz.
Good evening. Steve Santa Cruz, 12235 Northeast 10th Avenue, 33161. My home is located adjacent to the proposed project. I purchased my home about a year and a half ago because of its location and neighborly feel. As I said before, I represent a younger aspect to the community and its future. I've lived in high-rises for about 10 years to finally move and have one follow me right to my yard, you know. Had there been a structure like this, I would not have purchased my home. Development is great, but this is not the right project for this community. The vision of North Miami and downtown, as I have read, represents growth and exciting projects, and I feel like this is not that. This project is not that. Consider the new neighbors moving in with a vibrant energy. They will not be open to buying into this neighborhood. Anyone who has seen my home has seen that I've invested much into it because I intend to live in it for my future. This is a very big deal to me, and to see a monstrous building in front of my home every day was definitely not in my plan. So please hold the project back, vote no until the developers propose the correct project and maintains the neighborhood as it should be. This is what it would look like from my home, and this is kind of like, this is what I ran away from. So, you know, this is not what I want to see every day. So please, thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Miss Valerie Holt and Mr. Robert Holt.
Valerie Holt, 1050 Northeast 122nd Street. The developer has claimed a mixed use based on the residential, which are the 55 plus and the ALF, plus retail as a second, plus restaurant. Those three elements would make up the three mixed uses that are necessary to allow the council to grant a mixed-use permit. The area proposes a cafe at the corner of 124th and 10th Avenue, and that's one element which they're using to fulfill the mixed-use component, and that's the element of restaurant. But they're not opening a cafe. He's hoping to rent to an outside party. I asked at the community meeting, what if there's no outside investor? Are you going to open one? Well, no, they're not opening a cafe. They're hoping to find an outside party interested. And if there's nobody interested, they're a business. They'll have to rent whoever comes along. So the third component of their mixed use is based on wishful thinking that they would like to happen. In fact, the developer is claiming and asking for a granted mixed use based on a hypothetical use for one of his uses. A cafe on the street corner must not be considered as a factual element unless the developer assures the installation and management for this particular use. Therefore, we ask that you decline the application for the mixed use permit until the developer shows that all three components of the mixed use are factual. Because when you give that, you're giving him the rest of that, including the 90 bonus. In addition to this, the city's now implementing one parking space per living unit. They have 175 living units. They don't have, but there are no reserved spaces for each of these units. You come home from work and you have to hunt for a parking space. Plus, they said they need an additional 100 to service the facility. That's 275 parking spaces right there. And they're basing the reduction on shared parking. How can they determine when people come and go? This is Miami. People work all hours. They come and go all hours. Now, we ask that you hear our voices and that until those issues are clarified and properly addressed, that you vote no on the conditional use permit and the bonus units. Thank you for your time.
I'm Robert Holt. I live at 1050 Northeast 122nd Street. I ask that you deny the conditional use permit and bonus units at this time. Many of the so-called improvements to the community are strictly private to the development, such as the rooftop playground for visitors' children. Where is the playground and green space for children who live in our neighborhood? Excuse me. This public use area could have been provided that opportunity with a little foresight from our elected representatives. I guess the residents and their families don't count for much. Vote no. Prove us wrong.
Let's try to hold your applauses, please, so we may continue. Mr. Carl Hoover, followed by Mr. Eduardo Santos Lima.
Good evening. Thank you, Council. My name is Carl Hoover. I live at 1070 Northeast 122nd Street, about 4 blocks from this development. I'd like to stress that it was very kind of the developers to invite us to a fourth meeting. I found it very informative. They were reasonably open to our suggestions. But nonetheless, we still find this project to be too massive and inappropriate for the area, and I urge you to vote no. A 10-story building just is ill-fitting, and it's just simply something the neighbors don't want to live next to. Thank you.
My name is Eduardo Santos Lima. I live at 1030 122nd Street. I'm providing to the council members 3D view from my home and the ones from Mr. Santa Cruz. The major concerns of the neighbors is density, and it has never been knowledgeable or addressed on the revised plans for this project. During the last meeting that was held between the developers and the area residents, I asked the developer how many units could be built in the 1.95 acres. The developer confirmed the number of 85 units. Then I asked how many stories would be needed to accommodate those 85 units. The developer responded between 5 and 6 stories. I replied, yes, that's the main point. What I meant by that, right? That the council members could approve this density, and this would be a density that is acceptable to the area residents. The reduced density and height is a much better fit to the area. Mr. De La Gloria reply was that they have the right to build 175 units, and this will be the case. And if they were not allowed to build that way, they would put in place a 10-story building with only retail because they have the rights to do so. I got the impression this was a scare tactic to intimidate me and other residents present. Now I ask you, dear council members, where is the compromise? Where is the engagement of the developers to the community points of view? Where is the consideration of the true value of this project to the community? Is there misinterpretation of our city code to manipulate or push this development through? Where's the respect of the developers with the concept and principles of NRO? Where's the integration of the neighborhood and assimilation to the master development plan of the city? There has been no respect given to the ideals of the NRO concept and the major real concerns of the area residents in these revisited plans shown today.
Thank you.
Please vote no.
Hold your applause, please. Hold your applause. This is my third time saying that. Mr. Sébastien Levieux, you are next. Mr. Sébastien Levieux, followed by Miss Maritza Torres.
Good evening.
Hmm?
My name is Sébastien Levieux. Sorry for my English. I'm learning English. I live in 1030 Northeast 122nd Street. I am a 3D artist. I want to show you a 3D view from of the building seams from the street in front of my house, which is 2 blocks away. I'm again of this construction is too massive, and they need to change the height. You can see it's this. I live here, and I don't want to see like a wall of concrete in front of me when I wake up. Just vote no, please.
Thank you. Miss Maritza.
Good evening. My name is Marisa Torres, and I'm at 901 Northeast 120th Street. Thank you for your support, neighbors, and being here. And the presence of all of you is also as well important. My neighborhood has enough problems as it is for the lack of parks and green areas. As a matter of fact, there is only one small, tiny park in Biscayne Park, and a lot of our neighbors visit a little park. We also have a lot of green areas that we do enjoy, but a lot of our neighbors come over to use it because they don't have enough greens in their area. And I'd like you to take that in consideration. I love my home and my neighborhood, and I also came from a condominium who was once beautiful and was trashed within 5 years after the development. I ask you to deny the permit to this development. Vote no. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mr. Brian, is it Jenks or Jenks? Jenks, Mr. Jenks. Followed by Miss Iliana Albaran. Is it?
Good evening, Brian Jinks, 860 Northeast 122nd Street. I think all the facts have been presented on the size, the scope, the density, the developer, the beautiful pictures, the neighbors are upset by this. It's quite a journey that this property has gone from a public space to a 10-story building, 180 units now, et cetera, et cetera. Is this really the revitalization that we want for the downtown area of North Miami? I don't think it is. Just want to express to the council and the mayor that when you rose your hand and you were voted into office, you were voted by the people, for the people. And I think you should really look for the quality of life we're trying to develop here in North Miami, and is this going to be one of them? Again, the quality of life, what is this going to do for the surrounding area and also for our town? So close to literally what we call Main Street, 125th. I don't think it's a good fit. I'm not going to beat the drum. You're very well-educated men and women. You've seen the case. You know how you feel about it. Again, I don't think it's a good fit. You'll have your own feeling, but please understand tonight the power that you have. When you vote, there's no coming back. Are you going to be the grandparent, the grandmother, the grandfather that drives by this eyesore with the traffic and go, my God, how did this thing ever get built in North Miami? Who did this? Your grandchildren are going to look at you and go, you did it, you know? be very careful. You have to swing a lot of power with this project. Please consider it, and thank you for your time.
Iliana Albarran, 849 Northeast 121st Street. We are not against development, one that is compatible with the neighborhood. We have met with the developers and city staff to work on something that is compatible with the neighborhood in terms of size and character. The major concern of residents, density, has never been acknowledged or addressed by the developer or the city. The density has remained the same. They just move it from a 6-story, 7-story building to one 10-story and one 3-story building. They're using now 1.95 acres for their density calculations. However, a third of the property is occupied by an ALF that is not being counted in the density. So their density calculations should be based on only 2/3 of the size of the property. Assisted living facilities can't cram people in at random. The number of residents allowed, the density of the building, is determined by the size of the lot, correct? So either you count the dwelling units using our zoning laws, using the city's own regulations, specifically policy 1.37, that counts a maximum of 2.5 occupants as one dwelling unit, or we're asking that the square footage of the assisted living facility be removed from the 1.95 acres used to calculate density. On top of all of this undercounted density, they're asking for bonus units. With the granting of the conditional use permit, they're asking us to override our zoning laws, which state that 2 adult living facilities can't be built within 2,000 feet of each other. That's section 5-202 of our LDRs. Again, we're bending for these developers. The interpretation of our city codes by our city staff is questionable, and nothing should be voted until these 2 questions are addressed. On the record, I want to ask again, please answer, are 2 adult living facilities allowed to be built within 2,000 feet of each other? And the second, why is policy 1.37 not being implemented in transcribing 2.5 occupants maximum for one dwelling unit? And I'd like to ask those questions on the record. Please, Tanya, answer. Thank you.
Miss Alicia Morgan, followed by Mr. Roberto Orozco.
Is anyone going to answer her questions?
No.
Okay.
You have your 2 minutes.
My name is Alicia Morgan, and I am a resident of Biscayne Park at 12,000 Northeast 8th Avenue in Biscayne Park, and I also have a business that's located at 125th Northeast 7th Avenue in North Miami. The business I own is Immigration Lawyers USA. As a resident of Biscayne Park, I would like the City Council to vote no to tab I, mainly because this would greatly affect and increase our traffic and accidents in Biscayne Park and North Miami residential areas. It has been stated that the neighborhood traffic will be minimal because of some changes that have made to the development, but human nature and the app Waze will indicate that that is completely false. People will drive through our neighborhood, and the traffic that will increase will be tremendous. I'm a member of Nextdoor, a neighborhood app wherein I regularly hear complaints from the locals that people are driving too fast in our neighborhood, causing accidents and deaths of our pets. The increased traffic to this development will greatly impact Biscayne Park's traffic, which, considering the way that people are driving in Miami, would greatly put our neighborhood safety at risk. Secondly, as a business owner in North Miami, I would urge the council to vote no to tab I, because this property is supposed to be a commercial property with mixed public use and resulting in North Miami's community benefit. The fact that the property will be used primarily for residential use will take away from the public benefit that could otherwise come from the space, which is next to a museum, commercial property like shops and nice restaurants. In the interest of North Miami's growth as a city, which will benefit my local business, I recommend that this space be used instead for commercial use or public benefit as a community facility instead of primarily residential use. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Roberto Orozco, 1045 Northeast 122nd Street, 2nd District. I also have a unit in this District 1, Northeast 135th. Long-term resident of North Miami. Initially, I was for this project, but considering the proximity to my property, it's just a massive wall that I'll be looking at every single day of my life. it is easier to be for this project when you live in North Bay Shore Drive, where probably all you see is the water. And I also want you to please consider the petitions from the neighbors in Biscayne Park. I know they're not your constituents, but we live in happy harmony with this community. It's going to affect us all. I want you to please reconsider the additional allowance. It's too close to my house, and I thank you for your decision.
Thank you, Ms. Marilyn Chisholm and Ms. Sylvia Maiello. Maiolo or Maiello?
Okay. My name's Marilyn Chisholm. I live at 850 Northeast 123th Street, right down the street from this massive, giantly enormous thing that you're planning to put up, which I hope does not happen. The amount of traffic right now on our street is unbelievable. There's no one that drives down there at 25 miles an hour. There's only one posted sign. It's absolutely ridiculous, and this will only add to it exponentially. Besides the fact that this is public use, which now is a parking lot. So there is that song that some of you may know. They paved paradise, they put up a parking lot, and now we are planning to put up a giant, oversized development instead of something for the children, something green, something for everyone to go and enjoy themselves and relax, instead of a giant thing that is going to benefit only the developer and the people who make this and the revenue that comes in to them. Besides the fact that these dwelling units, the limits to the number of dwelling units allowed are for per acre to the size of the lot, as Ileana said earlier. And they are not calculating this correctly because they are not calculating the ALF residents' dwellings as part of anything. That is at 0. So the city code stipulates that 2.5 of the ALF residents should count as one dwelling unit, but this developer is not even putting them in. We need to say no to this oversized thing and for him to not get his conditional use permit. We need something better for our city, and I'm sure that someone can come up with something. Thank you.
Sylvia Maiolo, 800 Northeast, 124th Street. I didn't want to come tonight, but I'm very happy to come and to hear all these people. I wonder who benefits this project. Because we live in a community, and a nice community. And the neighborhood don't want nothing like this. We want something better. We always want to grow and to be better. If you made this building in another place, it's all right. But you don't make this building around where you live. Because if you make this building around where you live, you come over here next to me and next to them, and you don't want this. I'm very sure that Mr. Prevatelli don't live around this in this neighborhood. You must live in a nice place, maybe next to the water too. And oh, I'm sorry. I have to repeat.
Just remember that when you turn your head away to talk to the room, we can't hear you and the TV can't hear you.
I said that Mr. Prevatelli doesn't live in this neighborhood. I'm pretty sure because he lives in this neighborhood. They come to protest like they did before a lot of time when something doesn't go good with him. Yeah, I live in Buenos Aires. That's why I moved from New York. Like it's New York.
Guys, please, 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 please,
But
please.
this is not the best place to build something like this. It's a beautiful project, but North Miami.
Thank you very much. Miss Marcela, no, Yeah, Miss Marcela Montano, followed by Miss Marisol Medina. And Joaquin Vargas.
Okay. My name is Marcela Montano. I reside on 1135 Northeast 133rd Street. I'm relatively new to the neighborhood and did not take part on previous meetings or presentations of this project. So this is kind of new for me. But I'm here to ask you to vote against this massive project of 175 units. I do not see how a project of this size would improve our neighborhood. I would like to ask the developers to include the density of the assisted living facilities and the calculation of the overall project. Please vote no for this project. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Marisol Medina, 1270 Northeast 124th Street. I'm like a lot of my neighbors and the other 163 who voted against the project initially. I'm grateful of how the developers worked with us. And they're actually probably the nicest developers that I've seen come to the city, unlike some other ones that have monstrosities coming in, and he's got about 3 of them. I'm concerned, like everybody else, about all the traffic. So I've been paying attention to the area more than I normally do. And I saw 20 cars parked in their swale that they're going to reduce to 2 parking spots or 4 parking spots, just coming from that church. So can you imagine once that building does come and all the visitors on top of the church, where are they going to park? They're not going to park in parking spots. They're going to park everywhere that they can, all the way down the street. I liked the initial project when they talked about having a huge plaza with art that we can all partake in, as it's supposed to be within that area, something that all of us can enjoy. I give it to them. It looks pretty, only if you're inside the building. Thank you, guys.
Mr. Joaquin Vargas? No?
He's actually part of the applicant.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, thank you.
What about Miss Candy Keener? Mm.
Good evening, council members. Happy holiday. My mouth is so loud.
Who keeps this?
Hi. I respect all the council members. I live at 12100 Northeast 10th Avenue, so you can imagine how I feel. But I'm not here to advise any of you council members. I'm here only for, please, to look within your heart, pray on it, and then do what you think is right. God bless you all.
All right, public hearing is now closed. I called all the names. What's your name? Some way, somehow the card didn't make it to me. I don't know. No, we have to have the card. No, you just come and fill out one. Hmm.
My name is Mary Schuweiler. I live at 1070 Northeast 122 Street. The movement of the NRO line permits this lot to have mixed use only when the conditional use permit has been approved. The conditional use permit was denied at a previous meeting and comes again before you for reconsideration. And I urge that it not be approved for 2 reasons. 1, not all of the conditions for mixed use have been satisfied. In fact, satisfied. Not conjecture, not hypothetical, in fact. 2, what is proposed is an overwhelming and ill-fitted project that is the result of poorly conceived features added on in an effort basically and singly to gain the maximum number of bonus units possible. The result is a poor fit for the space and a poor fit for this community. The base units allowed for this space is 85, a figure that makes sense given the low-density residential area in which this project sits. The current number of bonus units proposed, however, doubles the size, scope, and impact of this development. In its current form, this project is unacceptable to the residents of the surrounding neighborhood, and we, the residents who live and own property in this area, who were here first, are not against development of this lot, but we remain concerned, very concerned, that the current proposal is simply too massive and does a disservice to the area. We are concerned that it will destroy the tranquil residential neighborhood that is adjacent to it. As suggested by Councilman Galvin and BNMA, we met a few weeks ago with the developers, and we do sincerely appreciate that they addressed some of the cosmetic and traffic flow concerns that were raised. Nevertheless, a main concern remains the inappropriate density level proposed for the space and its impact on the surrounding residential area. This issue has not yet been adequately addressed. This is still a massive complex, a 7-story and a 10-story building, as well as a 5-story parking garage, as well as a 3-story LF. And the direct result, it is the direct result of excessive awarding of bonus units that really are, many of them, a torture construction, putting in a bike rack, 5 units, putting in, calling something an urban space for public assembly, which is basically a sidewalk or a setback, and bang, additional units. And these need to be looked at critically and carefully, and more conversation needs to happen before this goes forward. I urge you to vote no. Thank you.
Thank you. You may fill out the card now, ma'am. The card. Okay, we are back here. Is there any more presentation from the from the developer?
You have your cross and rebuttal.
Cross-examination.
Rather than bring up Ms. Albaran to, if that's your correct pronunciation, I apologize. Rather than bring her up to cross-examine her on 2 points she raised, I'm just going to do it simply. And also elicit this through my questioning of Ms. Wilson-Sejour. The issue of no ALFs being allowed within a certain distance of each other, I'd like to submit for the record the business tax receipts that are on file with this city regarding both Villa Maria and St. Catherine's. The Villa Maria is a nursing home under your code, and St. Catherine's is a rehabilitation hospital. These are your own records, which I'd like to make part of this record. Second, under your own code, an ALF is not a dwelling unit. It does not have a kitchen any more than a dormitory room is a unit. So the only 2 real issues that were raised to challenge the conditional use permits applicability, I've answered. And again, I don't need to cross-examine them and make them feel, under any type of pressure. The only other matter, and we didn't necessarily want to get into this because, again, everything you've heard tonight, citizens have every right to their opinion, but it is only opinion. And I will bring up the traffic engineer, Mr. Joaquin Vargas, to address that one point about traffic. But I have to tell you, I just have to tell you this. Your own city has put out a resident's guide to quasi-judicial process. In your own pamphlet, it states what the law is, okay? It is not a popularity contest. Politics can play no part in the decision-making process. Bringing 50 people to a hearing, all wearing the same color T-shirt or carrying signs or some other type of demonstration of popular support or opposition is not supposed to be taken into consideration by the members of the city council or the board. Clapping and cheering in support of the statement someone is testifying to is not supposed to occur. asking everyone to stand up who is in favor or in opposition to an application has held by the courts to be improper. Under the Apopka case, long-standing law in this state, opinions of citizens who are vehemently opposed to a project not based on substantial competent evidence is not a legal basis to deny this. You are not only articulating that through the comments of my friend and well-respected Councilman DeSalme. What he has stated is a deliberate violation of the law. You are setting yourselves up, and you're setting the citizens of this city up to pay for the lawsuit that you're going to face. I have been a member of this community one way or the other since 1995. No one has cared about this community more than me, certainly as much as me. And people can laugh all they want. They don't know who I am, and they don't know what I've done for the city. Okay? So please, do not set yourselves up for this suit. It is not going to go well, and it's not going to be close. And your own city attorney could advise you of that, but I'm not going to put Jeff on the spot. And you're going to have the citizens who are here clapping tonight to pay for the lawsuit. And eventually, this will be built. So tonight, all I'm asking for is for you to approve a portion of what's going to come before you. This is going back to square one. It's going back to the design review board. It's going back to the planning and then back to you. Okay? And during that process, we're going to continue to hear from the neighbors. We've heard from them 4 times, and tonight we've demonstrated the changes we've made as a result of those meetings. So all I'm asking you to do is actually focus on the resolution in front of you. And again, I'm sorry that I had to kind of take that position. I would like to, I didn't interrupt you. I would like to ask Ms. Tanya Wilson to come forward. I have some questions for her. She went somewhere?
She's out
Okay,
of the
well, in
room.
that case, let's hear from Mr. Vargas regarding that one traffic issue, and then I'll cross-examine your planning director.
Thank you. Council members, I see the mayor's not here. For the record, my name is Joaquin Vargas. I am a traffic consultant. The address is 8400 North University in Broward County. Regarding traffic, we did undertake a traffic study, conducted traffic count for the area, and the traffic associated with this development is manageable. Most of the traffic is going to come from 125th Street to and from the north. The county publishes information regarding different sites within the county. They run this model, and based on that, it tells us where traffic for each one of the developments is coming and going to. So in this particular case, most of the traffic is coming to and from the north, 125th Street. As you know, we have 8th Avenue, 9th Avenue, 10th Avenue, all of which have traffic signals with 125th, which is going to bring traffic south to 124th. Your city staff reviewed our traffic study. The city also retained the services of an outside traffic expert, Kittleson and Associates. They reviewed our traffic study and they concurred with our conclusions. And as the architect mentioned, there has been some additional restrictions made to access. All of the inbound traffic is going to come from 124th Street to keep the impacts on the local residential streets to a minimal. And we do have one exit onto 10th Avenue, and that is going to be channelized, oriented so that all the exiting traffic is heading back north towards 125th Street. So that's a quick summary of the results of the traffic evaluation that we did.
Ms. Wilson-Sejour, I'd like to ask some questions. Okay. What is your current position with the city?
I'm the planning director with Community Planning and Development.
Do you have any accreditations from any organizations?
I do. I'm AICP certified as an urban planner.
Could you tell us what those initials stand for?
The American Institute of Certified Planners.
Okay. This agenda item memorandum was issued by you through and with your staff, the
Yes.
staff report?
Correct.
Okay. In analyzing the application in front of you, did you have to go through the various conditional use requirements for bonus units?
Yes, there's a criteria outlined in the code.
And could you explain what that criteria is?
So in the code, it requires that the application meet the limits of the comprehensive plan. It has to show that it's not going to create a burden on the level of service for infrastructure, for traffic. In looking at the criteria of the code, staff believes that the application meets each of the criteria that's outlined within the code.
There was one issue raised about this did not qualify as a mixed-use development. Did you analyze that issue, and what is your conclusion?
We did, sir. We found that the uses did meet the criteria of the code as we define mixed use within Article 7 of the code.
Okay. I would like to, and I know it's already really part of it, but I would just like to state for the record that we are introducing the staff report as the only substantial competent evidence that has been presented to this council this evening. Again, thank you, Ms. Wilson. Again, just to sum up for 1 second, I would appreciate it if you follow the law. I know that there are people here who want you to vote this down, don't really care if we're going to sue. Too bad. They certainly wouldn't be taking that position if they were opposed to your deliberately breaking the law on an issue that they like. Thank you.
So they pretty much done. We back
Public
to the
hearing is
guys.
closed. It's back to the
Public
days.
hearing is closed. So it's for us to comment, opine, and.
Can I?
We want to go first?
No, no,
You can go ahead, Alex.
No. Go ahead. I will.
Councilman.
You, absolutely after you, Madam Vice Chair.
As far as
You should always yield to women.
Yes, absolutely.
As far as ex parte communications, I have spoken to Mr. Della Gloria and Mr. Frankel. I don't believe, since the last meeting, I don't think I've spoken to anybody else.
Yeah, in terms of ex parte communications, we've done this at the previous time. So if there's been any communications since the last time you,
Those are the only.
yeah, then go ahead and mention them now.
Just since the last meeting?
You've already put on the record your conversations before. So unless there's
Yeah.
been new conversations, there's really no need at this point.
Okay. I know I'm not popular with the neighborhood, but in 2015, we changed the comp plan from a 55-story, even though it says PU. This property has never been PU. I think it had to have been a mistake. It was originally C3. This property was owned, it's been owned for more than 40, 50 years by Nations Bank, who sold it 20 years ago. I just pulled up the deed. Nations Bank owned it for years. It's always been a bank because I've lived here my whole life, which is a lot longer than 50 years. They've owned it. It's private property. It's been the lot attached to the bank. It might say PU. Even Villa Maria, which says it's a PU, is not PU, meaning public use. It is a private enterprise. You have private individuals owning this property who can pretty much do whatever they want if the zoning allows it. These people are not going to build you a park. They bought this to develop. They're not putting parks up for people. If the city wants to buy it and spend millions to put up a park, that's not really what our city wants to do. We have a development plan for downtown, the corridor, the NRO. This property is going to sit as a
parking lot. If that's what everybody wants, that's, you know, that's lovely too. But the PU, I think, is a mistake, and it will never be public use. It is going to be private. Originally, this could be, before we did the NRO, it could be a 55-foot height. I have tea, thank you. 55-foot height building, commercial. And if that's what the neighbors really think is better for their neighborhood, a 2-acre commercial building with thousands of cars driving through their neighborhood, strangers driving through their neighborhood every day, if you really think that's better than a residential project. From the beginning, when we first started meeting with the developers in the manager's office, and we've had several meetings with the neighbors, a lot of you were not there, but Mr. Houston was there, Mrs. Medina, I believe you were there. They've always showed us 175 units. They also showed an ALF. I was thrilled with that because an ALF has such low impact to a residence. The people living, the 70 people who are going to reside in this ALF, they're not going to be driving through your neighborhood. I was thrilled because traffic is one of the most important things to me. Low impact. You want this to go commercial. You don't want to. It started out, you didn't want old people, you didn't want affordable. That's where it all lied, and now you come into something else. But this is such a low impact for the neighborhood compared to what could be there. And I mean, I've studied this, I've worked with this. The developer agreed to go back with a 35-foot setback. It was originally 10 feet. So you could have had a 55-foot setback, a 55-foot high building, 10 feet off 123rd Street. They agreed to go back 35 feet. They agreed to keep it at 55. They've gone out with you in the last few meetings since the last development and lowered the height on 123rd to 3 stories. You're not going to get a developer like this. You're going to be really sorry if these people go away and they build something big and ugly. They've even hidden the garage. I'm watching out for the residents. I love the city, and I just think that this is appropriate. We can't tell a developer, we want something more exciting. We don't have that right. You don't get to tell someone what they're going to put there. They tried the artist, but that didn't work. That was my idea. I suggested it to the developer, and they tried to do it, but it didn't work. I don't think you're going to do any better. As far as my fellow council members, you had a room full of people opposing a 300-unit development on 123rd Street. People stormed this room and said no. A failing F intersection. The traffic right now is awful. And my council voted for that one against the opposition. We have another project that just went up on 130th Street. This is a 7-story building in people's backyards on the same block. You've approved that against the neighbors. So I'm really hoping you'll look at the evidence and you vote what you think is right. But I think it's a good project. I think 55 is not that old. You've got a continuum of life with a nursing home, hospital there. It just all works. You got a spouse in a nursing home. This gives you the ability to rent an apartment next door to your loved one. And I know someone out in the audience snickered at that the last meeting, but that's really important when your spouse is in a nursing home and you can't get there because, number one, you can't afford the taxi, you can no longer drive. This is a beautiful thing for our residents. We need nice senior housing. We have none. This is affordable. It's not subsidized Section 8. This is part affordable. It's part workforce. These are for people like teachers, police, first responders. It's something we really need for our city. It's part of our future. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
You want to go? Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First and foremost, I wanted to make a couple of comments. I came into this from the get-go with an open-minded, and I said at the beginning of the statement, I'm a big supporter of development. And by saying that, I made a couple of comments from the get-go, which I have some concerns some of the residents had. At the last meeting, I asked if they could meet up with the residents to see if those concerns were met. I have not met with staff. I have not met with any residents, and I have not met with the developer. However, I have been receiving a handfuls of emails from the residents as part of the process. What is legal, and I am not an attorney, and I do have a city attorney. I, as an individual who represent the entire city of North Miami, is here to make a decision based on what I think is fair and what is legal in some sort. However, I am not going to get, what's the right word, of someone making a comment regarding a statement that I made to that the sufficient language of the statement is apparently threatened to, because I don't do good when people threaten me. That's number one. And if that's what they're going to do tonight, I am definitely moving from my column, yes, because I came into this with an open-minded, listening to the residents and listening to developers and a lot of the concerns that I had, and I will not be voting in support of this project tonight because I do not do well under pressure. So if the lawsuit's going to start, whatever, that's something as an elected official that I signed up for. Thank you.
That's Scott.
I didn't have any questions.
Can I go?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor. And Tanya, can I ask you one question? What they are asking tonight, it's 90 dwelling unit, the allocation of an additional of 90 dwelling units. Is it correct?
Per acre.
Per acre.
The density, correct.
Okay. Right now, how many units can be built without the bonus?
Well, without the bonus, it would be none.
Why?
Which is, so the code in terms of the underlying zoning for PU and also for the designation of community facility has no residential in and of itself attached to it. Your residential for the mixed use is activated only because you have the overlay district that's also included for that property.
That's mean the bonus is the entire 175
Correct.
units.
Correct.
Okay, but from that 175 bonus, right, units, I see details about 90 units, right? Why they're asking for. And from detail, it seems like there's a lot of line that look the same for me. I'm going to give you an example. Structure parking, pedestal. They ask for 5 units, and there's another structure parking, non-pedestal. They ask for 3 units. What's the difference?
So the pedestal parking basically has the buildings above the parking structure, and the non-structured, non-pedestal does not. The project itself has both types of parking features being offered. So they are entitled to the densities that are associated with that in the code.
What is the difference between urban places of public assembly and the landscape and project open space recreational amenities? What it is? What's the difference?
So the recreational amenities is more like your active spaces. They're proposing some type of playground, or they're proposing a pool area. The other one that you mentioned, the first one, the public places.
The project open space.
That's more a gathering space. It allows for benches, seating, trees, places that people can gather, literally, is what the term encourages.
The entire project, it's affordable, or? workforce housing?
So based on the request, the code requires at least 15% of those units to be workforce. It could be more. In this case, the developer is saying they'll propose more, and it can also be market rate, but at least 15% of those have to be set aside for workforce housing.
Public art?
So public art, what you see in the renderings are really just concepts. So the public art spaces have been identified. So they're placeholders. What the code requires, though, is that for any public art that's being proposed, whether it's some type of sculpture or it's art pieces that are hanging from the building, it has to go before the Arts in Public Place Committee. So all they can do at this place is just identify where it would go, but the materials themselves would have to be submitted for consideration before that committee.
About allocation of dwelling units, what did our code say?
The definition of a dwelling unit?
And who can make that decision?
So, like I mentioned before, Article 7 of your code is your dictionary. It tells you how something is defined. So we can't deviate from that. So I'll read verbatim.
Yes.
So it says a dwelling unit means a building or portion of a building providing independent living facilities for one family, including provision for living, sleeping, and complete kitchen facility. If a unit like an ALF has multiple families living within, it does not have a kitchen facility, and it's certainly not for independent living, and then staff cannot constitute that as a dwelling unit. It would be in conflict with the definition in the code.
That means this ALF won't have a kitchen unit?
No, sir.
Where the kitchen gonna be?
They have a central area for communal dining, like a dining hall, pretty much.
Okay. Can you continue with the dwelling units and who can allocate that?
So we can only make that determination if it meets the definition of the code. Along with that, the code also gives you a definition under the adult daycare. It's also like an assisted living facility definition. Under section 5-201, subsection D of the code, it says, all adult living facilities shall be considered commercial enterprises for the purposes of all city utilities and sanitation. So even within the code itself, it identifies that use as a commercial entity. Does not meet the definition of dwelling unit, but it's also constituted and defined in the code as a commercial use.
Who can grant the allocation of those additional units?
Only City Council can do that. Your code is set up in such a way that the conditional use permits are at the discretion of City Council. They make the request through...
Can you repeat what you just said?
Only your City Council, the 5 people sitting up there, can make that allocation. The request is made to staff administratively, but the resolution can only be approved by mayor and council.
We're the only one that can decide.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
That's it? So, Galvin, nothing?
No question.
Well, I mean, the only question that I would have, maybe I don't know, the manager or Ms. Sejou, if this request is not granted tonight, what can be built, or what can the developer move on to build on that property? I mean, just a few examples. You don't have to. Can they build
So
can they put a
it's
Kentucky Fried Chicken there?
question. A KFC?
No.
No, sir. If I could step back a little bit. Historically, the site was zoned C3. Prior to that, the site was zoned parking lot. So the history of the site went from a parking lot to C3 to what you see now within the last 3 years as PU. So the question really is, what would PU allow? I could quickly mention a few things from the code. It says an amusement park, a stadium and arena, campground, a driving range, recreational, whether it's indoor or outdoor, like a desert museum type of thing. You can also have under PU. Ooh, cemetery. It's there, I'm just reading what's there, sir. Educational facility, excuse me, educational facilities, scientific research.
Mhm.
You can have a lab. We mentioned before medical marijuana, like anywhere that you put a medical marijuana facility, you'd be able to put that there, under the NRO category, that is. Radio transmittal service, recycling facility, and urban garden or a
So,
museum.
okay.
So that just gives you the full length of the list. That's only under the PU, but where the NRO is concerned, again, because the property is located within the NRO, the site is capable of being activated into a mixed-use project. So if not this, any other applicant can apply for a mixed-use project.
Yeah, I mean, the reason why I asked the question because we are on the verge of going for a vote. So before I vote, I make sure that I get the proper information. If I vote for or against this project, I want to make sure what the residents are going to get as opposed to this project. And this is something that needs to be considered, by the residents as well. When you go against something, you have to know, watch out what might come, if you go against this. And thus the reason, I mean, as you all know, this item was DOA. I mean, it was already dead. And I was approached, a few months back, by the attorney. I was approached by him to see if the council would reconsider it, and we went and we labored on it, and we came and we rescinded. Did we rescind the previous note? We had to rescind the previous note. I mean, the previous vote, so that we could, come and make, tremendous, changes, as were, required, by the residents based on their, expressions. So I gave the opportunity to the developer to come back, with this to see if they could convince, do we need 4 out of 5 to 3? So, but from what I'm seeing, there is a lot of, people who are against it, people who lives in the next, in the vicinity of where the project is going to be. So, I don't know.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor,
I don't know
can
if
I
you'll
ask
allow me to speak or
another-
not.
Yeah.
Would you allow me to say one more word?
Well, Mr. Bien-Aimé wants to say
A
something.
quick question about what the manager said. Some people said they are asking for 2 things: the additional bonus unit and the conditional use permit. But you said, oh, okay, that's 2 things. Okay. Can you say that on record, what we're asking for? It's two things, not just...
I apologize, you're correct. It's the conditional use permit and the allocation of the bonus units from the NRA allocation.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
If I can add to that, just for the record, it's both a residential and a non-residential. It's one permit being requested, but the 2 types are for the residential units and your non-residential space.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilman DeSalme, in no way was I attempting to threaten. I would never do that. No, excuse me. Standing on our legal rights is not a threat. We are attempting to advise you that what you are doing is wrong based on your own standards of quasi-judicial procedure. If you believe, Councilman, that there is actually a way to continue to compromise with the community, then we would rather do that than sue you. But I'm certainly not going to stand... Okay, you know what? If this is the community that wants you to do this improperly and illegally, then in the end, I'll be right, you'll be wrong, you'll pay for it, and that'll be that.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Mr. Jude, one last question. Do you think, after how many meetings have we had since we've rescinded the previous vote and since we started this whole process? We've had many of them, right? 4 of them? So is it your opinion that the developer has really compromised with the residents to meet them at least as close as they would want the project to be?
So there have been several community meetings.
Yeah.
I think there's been a lot of concession along the way. At this point, they have given a lot of revisions to the plans in terms of the height, a lot of changes in terms of the use. I can't say whether or not it's to the satisfaction of the residents. I can't speak for the residents, but I will say I've seen the changes in the project along the way based on the request.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor. If I may say one last thing before we vote. First and foremost, the legality of us being elected to represent the constituents or the interests of the city was put forth by the voters. If I have a lot of questions, and I'm not going to ask them tonight because I am willing to vote, because I believe if the developer less was said, the outcome would have been different, because clearly it's a threat. And if we're going down legally, whatever the case is, if you're telling me that I cannot make a decision based on issues that I have with the proposal because it's legal, then there's no need for it to even come in front of this body, because I thought that we were elected to make those decisions. Yes, there are a lot of stuff that maybe staff may see it one way, but I think it's my constitutional duty to question staff and I had concerns from the last one, and I was not giving the opportunity before I was threatened. And I'm still gonna say that. And I respect you a lot, Mr. De La Gloria. So in terms of that, less would have been better, because I do say it from the get-go. The first thing that I said was I am a supporter of development. And specifically, I had questions, and I am a supporter of this project because I asked for the residents to meet with the developer to try to come up to a conclusion. So if I am being threatened before I vote that I have to vote yes in favor of something, then I didn't even need to be here. Because, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Go for a vote. We're going to go for a vote
I'm
now.
going to offer something.
No, it's time to go for a vote.
I would like to offer something.
It's time to go for a vote.
I would offer I will ask you for a continuance of this item and for a meeting to be held by the residents, by the developer, and by you as a representative of this council.
I'll be there.
So,
Mr. Mayor.
Well, somebody has to, well, he's requesting, so we have to make a motion.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
So if that's
I need a motion to.
Acceptable, we'll have you there so you can hear this.
But before we do that, Mr. La Gloria, I would say, and I'm not an attorney, but I could read very well.
Of course.
You did come here and made a threat. And sir, I would really consider, and you and I have been friends for years. And I said to you, and I've never, anytime I'm in a position where you are threatening me, then I'm gonna go down and fight. And the thing is, we know it's legal because we have to compromise with the residents. We want something there, and they said they're not, and I'm all for that. And the council, the vice mayor has stated, we have gone against the resident because we thought in our interest, and I think the last speaker said it well. Before we come here, we pray, we do what, and we take religion out of it, but we make the best decision that we think. A lot of people are not going to agree with it. But if you are telling me, well, you need to vote, it doesn't matter what I feel or what the residents feel, we just have to vote for it legal, then I don't even know why the city council exists, if in my opinion. So when that statement was made, and I felt I would have been differently if you didn't say anything, because I really had it open-minded.
Are we going to vote, or are we going to continue this?
I'll vote to continue it because
Fine.
I would agree, and I would meet with the residents. We are going to have an open-minded, a real discussion, because I did hear that there was some stuff that was given, so I'm trying to be in the middle to both sides. I do want something there. And there are some people who have issues with the LF. Please do not come to that meeting with that, guys, because that is not the intention. We need something nicely there. Let's work something that's going to be, yes, they are there to make money, because at the end of this, Mr. Mayor, please just 1 minute, because all I heard today was, this is giant, this is enormous, the developers have enough money, this lack of parks, lack of this is too big, I don't want to see that. Guys, please, we are going to have this faithful meeting, and I'm sorry I could not be at the last one. Please come with concrete stuff. I know Miss Ayana, we had some real conversation. Please come with some stuff we all could agree, so we could have one last meeting with this. I'm willing to do that if you guys willing to, if that's okay with you, Mr. Mayor, or the rest of this council. If not, I'm ready to
You first
go.
have to make the motion.
I make a motion, we continue it and have one last meeting with both sides, and I will be present out of good faith.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
I have a motion made by Councilman Desaulniers to continue the item. That motion was seconded by Vice Mayor Keys. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
No.
Item passes.
Can you count the vote?
Oh.
Ooh.
Councilman. Okay, I'll do a roll call. Councilman Bien-Aimé, how do you vote?
No.
Councilman Galvin, how do you vote?
No.
Councilman Desaulniers, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mayor Joseph, how do you vote?
Yes.
Vice Mayor
But
Keys, how do
promise
you
not
vote?
to speak next time.
Yes.
Yes, that's a good.
Item passes 3.
I'm trying to make this an annuity.
3-2.
Well, you would have had it tonight.
Thank you.
Okay.
We will.
Do we have any reports?
We will pay for the notice. We will make sure it goes through the city. We will do everything possible to make sure every resident is there, including all the flyers we sent out.
Do we have any reports?
And if you want, send me your information, and I will
Mr. Attorney,
ensure
do you
that
have
you're
any
there.
reports?
Oh, I do have one.
Yeah.
Before everybody leaves, I want to let you know that the 12th annual angel tree is down in the lobby. And if you'll take the angel, one of the angels with the gender and age of children in the community who don't have toys for the holidays, and then bring them back by December the 14th, unwrapped, please, Friday, December the 14th. But please bring a gift for children in the community who might otherwise go without. The angel tree is downstairs in the lobby during business hours until December the 14th.
Thank you.
Bring the gifts back here to City Hall to the second floor. Right, the angel tree is downstairs right now as you're all running out, but bring them back to the second floor. Yes. Thank you.
Okay, I would like to thank and commend our Chief Juriga, who brought the Miami Dolphins, the owner of the Dolphins Rise, and our PAL kids today for a communication session to discuss and open up topics of discussion with the children, with the youth of our community. And thanks to the Dolphins for coming out and working with our youth. So thank you, Chief. It was a great meeting this afternoon.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Manager, is the Park and Rec here? Because I have some issues. I need to talk about Ben Franklin and also parks.
The assistant director is here, but I'll listen to you.
The meeting is still in session.
Yeah, we might
The meeting is still in session.
Okay, the condition of Park, I went out to Park Franklin twice. The condition, the field is not leveled. So I wanted to know when was the last time it was done, because it looked like it's worse than a third world country. And we need to fix that before the year's out. I know the county does it at least twice. I'm surprised that folks have not gotten hurt out there. And we have kids playing soccer out there, which the condition is really, really horrible. The other, lastly, thing I want to mention regarding, it wasn't Ben Franklin, so they got all my notes all over here. Okay, it's right here. The soccer program, I know it's supposed to be moving to Pepper Park. If that happened yet. But my biggest thing is the feel of they need to get, because there's no water. The water thing on the grass, it doesn't. There's no sprinkler. It's not level. That's number one. So you'll be walking there, and then I don't know if it's not even grass on there.
So, hi, Christine Carney, Parks and Recreation Department, Assistant Director. We actually have a program that we are starting there within the next couple of months with Stonyfield Organics, and we're doing it's going to be a test park. We're going to have a kickoff for it. You'll hear about it more a little bit, but they're going to come and do a soil test, and then we're going to use non-invasive and non-toxic products throughout the field. So we're not treating it right now because it needs to be completely organic. So once they do the soil test and they come back with how the process of how it will be treated, we then go through that to improve the park, to improve the grass, the growing, and everything that will
What
happen.
about the level?
Yes, that will all take
Okay.
place.
And-
But we're going to wait until we test the soil and then get the plan from this group that is going
Got it.
to.
Okay, thank you. That's a suffice.
That's
Mr.
a part of a plan to ban completely the use of toxic
Yes,
pesticide
mhm,
in
it's
the
the
entire
start
city.
of, yes.
Okay, thank you. The traffic circle ways are horrible. Please have someone, because I know you did it last time.
When we approved the
cleaning.
budget bill,
Okay.
that was added to their scope of work.
Okay, I wasn't there. The last question, Mr. Manager, the CBO allocation.
Clean or repair?
I know I don't want us to be out of compliance with that, because the reason that it came to mind as I was driving here, I received a call from Mr. Jennings to know if it was the agenda. Can we have it in the next?
Yeah, we
because-
can put it on. I just need to get. I will speak with each of you.
But we already did that. We already.
No.
No?
I will
Offer?
speak with each of you again. We've tried to individually come with several of the different recommendations, but this week and next week we'll.
In regards to
Yeah,
what?
because if they had bring it out here, like we did last, we would have said this, get this, and cut it off, because they're waiting for it.
So remember we had one of the organizations withdrew.
Yeah, but you already
actually
make the
two.
recommendation. You should bring it here and we will decide.
But your directive from that discussion was for me to meet with you. We've tried to individually go back and forth.
I don't want to meet with you about it.
Okay.
I make my recommendation here.
Okay. So
All right.
we'll bring you what we have, and then you can make your splitting recommendation. But it was
Okay.
It was kind of all over the place.
Any more reports? Do you have a report, Mr. Attorney?
Yes, two things, Mayor. I need to call another executive session on both the Holland and Eugene cases, so we'll be talking to your staff to schedule that. And also some terrible news. As you know, Weiss Serota Healthman is the law firm for the city. They do a lot of our personnel and employment matters. Gail Serota, who's a partner, and the spouse of Joe Serota, passed away over the holiday. So the funeral's tomorrow at 1 o'clock. I'll be attending that. But definitely want to send our condolences out to Joe Serota and the law firm.
Can we send a flower? Or
In
something on
lieu
behalf
of
the
flowers,
city?
they've asked for donations. I can't remember the 501c3, but we are going to be sending something there. I'm not. We'll figure out how to do that, but we'll be sending something.
All right.
Thank you.
Give a motion to
A
adjourn?
quick report, Mr. Mayor.
I thought he
Hmm?
didn't have
And
nothing.
not, I haven't talked. And I think during the budget season, we talked about the repair for those traffic circles. A lot of them been involved in accidents, and a lot of them need to be repaired, and the landscaping need to be redone. We need to redo the landscaping in those traffic circles. If you can have no, it's not country bill. It's park and rec. We're talking about the landscaping. We do the landscaping
Inside of the
yeah,
traffic circle.
traffic circle.
When you guys approved the country bill contract, that
We're not talking about
Yeah, but
lands.
they put it in country.
No, it's not. Wait.
We'll take care of it, sir.
No, but it's not right.
You're saying do new landscaping in the circles.
No, I'm talking about we do the landscaping. That is,
Yeah, that's
change the trees, the plants, and things like that. You said it's part of country bill contract.
they will They have in the past, and they will do this because they now have maintenance under the contract.
Yeah, maintenance. We're not
So
talking
if
about
anything's dead, they'll
maintenance.
replace it.
They're
We're
replacing
talking about
dead
dead.
shrubs and all that stuff as part of that maintenance.
Okay. Can we have like a plan for the next council? How many of them need repair and what are the repairs? Because a lot of them have been involved in accidents. What happened, Carol?
I heard you.
What did she say?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you very much. Good night, everyone.
Good night, Mr. Mayor.